One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
Is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Can you hear me now? Yeah, you can hear me now. Whew, man. Sometimes you're so busy. I'm so busy getting these shows put together, and it takes me right up to the actual minute of being able to do things, because things, like I've told you before, I try to put things in order, and then I try to make sure that they are in place. And then something pops up, and then I have to go verify. Just to let you know, there is a fake letter going around right now, completely fake. In fact, I also posted it as well, which I am in the process of taking down. That fake letter said that Jerome Powell had resigned. And then after further looking into it, Jerome Powell has not yet, as of right now, he has not resigned. So I am in the process of deleting that post because it is not true. So if you saw my post go up saying, Jerome Powell is done, nope, not happening. Check CNBC. And of course, if it had happened, we would have seen it all over CNBC right away. So no, Jerome Powell, as of yet, has not resigned. So let me apologize if I put that up in haste. However, we do have a bit of breaking news.
Breaking news into the Fanfare newsfeed.
All right, so some of you guys may not be rockers at heart. I have always been a rocker. I will continue to be a rocker. Some of you guys have tuned into my shows in the evening. You know, I do some music every once in a while. And one of those guys, and I don't want to hear anything about the crazy stuff he did. We've all done crazy stuff. But Ozzy Osbourne, at 76 years old, has passed away. And regardless of what you think of his music, regardless of what you think of him as a person, the one aspect that I am now completely, wow, This dude doesn't have to worry about the tribute concert coming after he passed. He performed at his own tribute concert. Little less than 2 weeks ago, they had this big, giant Ozzy Osbourne concert, which was Black Sabbath's last concert ever. And in a chair, almost like a wheelchair, Ozzy rocked out in his last show and sang his entire set from a chair. And you would not have known that this guy was literally on his deathbed. And then, every eye in the house was wet when he sang the song, Mama, I'm Coming Home. And today, wherever that home may be, and I understand he was a Christian, that he did convert and became a Christian later in life. So hopefully he is up in the pearly gates. Remember, there's no such thing as fire insurance. If you are a confessed Christian, and if that's what he did indeed do, then Ozzy's up there. And so Ozzy Osbourne has passed at the age of 76, I believe is what they're saying. Yes, the AP is reporting that Ozzy Osbourne has died at 76 years old. And there he is. And I think that was taken at the actual concert right there. If you notice, he's got the cross on. So, God bless him. If he made that decision and he converted to Christ, then I'm not going to be the one to cause any problems. All right, that being said, let me move on very quickly. There's a lot of news happening, and I've got so much to cover. Don't want you guys to be here overnight, so let's get into it right away because there is some nutty stuff happening, and let's just start off with how these people have been acting over the last couple of years.
Russia hacking the election to elect Trump is the end of our democracy. Votes were definitely affected. Russia hacked the election to tilt it to Mr. Trump.
The Russians definitively hacked the election.
Russia did hack the election.
No doubt. The Russians hacked the election.
Yes. Russia hacked the election.
Fact, Russia hacked the election.
President-elect Donald Trump still not sounding convinced that Russia hacked the election.
The president does not want to come to terms with the fact that the Russians hacked the election.
President Trump says he still wonders if the Russians hacked the election.
If you can get him to accept that Russia hacked the election, see if you can get him to accept who won the Civil War.
If he admits it, it casts a shadow on his victory over Hillary Clinton.
Russia hacked the election.
Russia hacked the election.
Russia hacked the election.
Russia hacked the election.
Let's be clear, Russia hacked the election.
Definitively, Russia hacked the election, and Russia is doing it again now.
Election-related cyber hacking.
Cyber hacking of U.S. elections. Cyber hacking of the election.
Russia was cyber hacking the election.
Russia was cyber hacking the election.
The CIA, the FBI, NSA.
All of these intelligence organizations.
17 intelligence agencies all conclude that Russia hacked the election.
If we find out that Donald Trump just theoretically was colluding with Russia while they were hacking the election, that is completely impeachable.
This dossier alleged a conspiracy between the Trump campaign and the Russian effort to hack the election.
The director of national intelligence, the head of the National Security Agency, the head of the FBI, all of these intelligence experts saying Russia hacked the election.
The FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the former director of national intelligence, James Clapper, I mean, they've all said this. So to believe that that's wrong, you have to believe they're all involved in an elaborate conspiracy to get Donald Trump, which seems a little far-fetched to me.
Except that's exactly what they were all involved in. I would not want the words expert attached to my name if I participated in all that propaganda BS that the liberal media cooked up along with these intelligence experts. And now at the same time, we've got a lot of people on the right, a lot of influencers who are now trying to, taint this whole entire thing. Try to say Tulsi had a big nothing burger. But the one person whose opinion that matters has now called these people out, and he is straight up. It's Obama.
From your perspective, who should the DOJ target as part of their investigation? What specific figures in the Obama administration?
Well, based on what I read, and I read pretty much what you read, it would be President Obama. He started it. And Biden was there with him, and Comey was there, and Clapper, the whole group was there. Brennan, they were all there in a room. Right here, this was the room. This is much more beautiful than it was then, but that's okay. I have nice pictures up. They came out of the vaults. They were in there for 100 years. This is much more beautiful. We have the Declaration of Independence now in the room, which wasn't here. I guess people didn't feel too good about putting it here, but I do. But you know what? If you look at those papers, they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama. It wasn't lots of people all over the place. It was them too. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? And except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press for his entire life, that's the one they... Look, he's guilty. It's not a question. You know, I like to say, let's give it time. It's there. He's guilty. This was treason. This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election. They did things that nobody's ever even imagined, even in other countries. You've seen some pretty rough countries. This man has seen some pretty rough countries, but you've never seen anything like it.
So President Trump finally himself came out and said the T word in front of the world, because he said that in front of the press conference with the president of the Philippines sitting right next to him, which I'm going to show you in its entirety coming up next. But I didn't want to show you that without prefacing what exactly President Trump just did. He just said that the former president of the United States, Barack Hussein Obama, is a treasonous... I won't even say what I got to say. You guys can fill in the blank. The president said this. And so now people are going to have to react. They have no choice. They can try to hide it. They can try to pretend like they didn't hear it, or they can try to laugh him off as being a nut, or there's, quote, and there's no evidence to show this, especially, I don't know, since she's been showing it for the last couple of days. The media doesn't want this story out. Of course, the Democrats don't want this story out. It's a burn the house down moment. President Trump has now announced he wants to see Barack Obama prosecuted. I do not think this man would have said this if he didn't already feel very comfortable that they were going to go that route. I want to show you something that he just, not just posted, but he posted at 1:30 on on Truth Social. And, you know, he's not giving, it wasn't a one-time thing. Here it is. This makes Watergate look like small potatoes. Victor Davis Hanson, Senior Fellow, Hoover Institution, they are caught. They are caught. Irrefutable evidence. They should all go to jail, or it will never stop. Nobody will believe the evidence, which is overwhelming. Make America great again. Now, he's quoting Victor David Hanson there, but at the same time, that's exactly what he personally feels. I want to move to this thing here, which is something else very big. But before I go there, let me just go with that story. The President of the United States has now accused somebody of treason. There's no way that he put that out of his mouth and on print if he didn't feel like he had the evidence. Here's why. Talking about somebody in that manner and approaching such a humongous criminal charge on them would leave him subject to libel and slander. Both. He spoke it and he wrote it. The only defense to libel and slander is truth. So if someone were to sue you, be saying that, you know, you beat your wife or whatever, and you didn't beat your wife, you could sue them because it's not true, and they can't prove it's true. That's the second part of that that's very important. So at this point, if you think you can sue President Trump because he called you a traitor, he called you treasonous, and you think you can win this case, well, the only way you could win it is if you can prove it's not true. It's a lie. So President Trump knows this. So at this point right now, game on. Absolute game on. You guys have to realize you are now front and center to what's arguably going to be the biggest legal case in American history. I don't even want to hear from any of the influencers about, oh, no one's ever going to get arrested. Oh, Trump's just, no. This man has put the crosshairs, theoretically, right on Barack Hussein Obama. And so you can take it to the bank that charges, if they're not imminent, they will be imminent very soon. You don't label that kind of charge against somebody without really expecting to bring the indictment. He has to know that. This would be the biggest whiff in political history. If he were to not bring the charges, he would look like a buffoon. There is no way out at this point. I hope you guys understand that. Right now, President Trump is going to be indicting Barack Obama. I will say it right now on 7/22 at 2:47 p.m. There will be an indictment of Barack Obama. Hold me to it. And the reason you can hold me to it is there's no possible way, none, that the President of the United States, and in particular Donald Trump, is going to leave a matzo ball hanging like that could stain him and his family forever. There is no way he's standing up to the bat like Mighty Casey and swinging and missing 3 times. It ain't happening. So everything you hear on the news tonight, if you watch the news, anything you hear on X, understand as of today, it's on. And some of you guys in the chat, I haven't even seen the chat. Maybe saying, Barry, you're crazy. Well, that's a big stretch. No. Can you imagine, and just think about it, a year from now, what his life would be like, what his presidency would be like, his legacy, his ability to do anything if he doesn't go after Obama after saying what he said today? He'd be done. Midterms, over. It's all over. He pushed in. Some of you guys who play poker, you know what he just did. He just went, I'm all in. I'm all in. If you haven't played poker before, if you've never done that, if you've never pushed all in, you don't know the feeling of, I better have this. Because if you don't, you're getting up from the table. You're getting up and you're getting out. So I understand this man, President Trump, and you guys can figuratively just understand what he just did. Like SV, if he's in here, will tell you that instant you go, I'm all in, is what President Trump just did and showed the world, I'm coming for this guy. I'm at the point of no return. I've seen enough. I think I've got the cards. I'm taking him on. And so whether the media wants to obfuscate, whether they want to lie, whether there's influencers out there who try, then they got no nuts. Let me just tell you that. If they don't understand what just happened, just stop following them. There's no white or black. I mean, there's no gray. It's white or black. Literally. There's nothing in the middle. Oh, he may have. No. He threw down. And anybody out here at this point, I don't have any other analogy other than the full push of the chips. Disagree if you want. Let me see what you got. Obama's got no more cards. No, not at this point. Was this probably SB? Okay, hold on. SB's texting me something. What do you want me to take, SB? You want me to go to something else here? He's like, the State Department is on security, recent security updates. All right, so let me get that. Yes, it's a great time to be alive. Barry, can you explain something to me? Why is it that all this info goes out before they are arrested? Aren't they afraid that these people will flee the country or create an alibi? Because that's what you do when you already know what's going to happen. Somebody on X asked me that. Why would they be telling everybody that? Because at this point, it's too late for them to act. It's too late. The trap has been set. You stuck your foot in it. We have it all. And by the time I go public with all this information, I'm already looking at everything. I'm watching the jets. I'm watching the airports. I'm watching the banks for transfers. I'm watching who you're talking to. Don't bother picking up your phone. Hello? Yeah, I'm listening. It's done. Right now, you're looking at rats in a cage who don't realize they've already eaten the poison. Now we're just watching them flop around. You don't make these moves unless you already know you got it covered. You're very quiet. Now you're playing with your food. That's what they're doing now. Go ahead, do something. Who are you going to call? What are you going to do? Because again, I'll go back to the Goodfellas. if you see it, it's too late. Any of you guys who have ever talked to people in law enforcement and what President Trump just did is let everybody know, including the media, I gotcha. Maybe he shouldn't have, but something inside of him was like, I'm just going to rub it in their face right now. I gotcha. There's nothing you can do. Now they're gonna have to find a judge in a venue that can do something, but you don't make that statement without knowing you're bringing the goods. And he has said it for quite a long time. We got it all. So now, good luck fighting it. At least I'll go down on president. Yeah, he was right. Obama's house in Hawaii is being watched. It's all being watched. Just saw Trump won a 60 Minutes lawsuit. Okay, so you're jumping ahead of me. You guys are too good. I'm gonna get to that real quick here too. So let me move on since you're jumping the gun. SB wants me to check this message here. Hold on, let me go here. What do we got? Yeah, she's on right now, but I'll cover that tonight, SB. Because that's live and I don't want to jump to it right now because I got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. All right, so let's look at what this gentleman had said about the 60 Minutes. This is huge as well. Ready? Breaking news. We have just achieved a big and important win in our historic lawsuit against 60 Minutes, CBS, and Paramount. Just like ABC and George Slapatopoulos, CBS and its corporate owners knew that they defrauded the American people and were desperate to settle. Paramount, CBS, and 60 Minutes have today paid $16 million for their settlement. And we also anticipate receiving $20 million more from the new owners in advertising, PSAs, or similar programming for a total of over $36 million. This is another in a long line of victories over the fake news media and who we are holding to account for the widespread fraud and deceit. The Wall Street Journal, the failing New York Times, the Washington Post, MSDNC, CNN, and all other mainstream media liars are now on notice that the days of them being allowed to deceive the American people are over. Make America great again. Oh, there's only one way to describe that.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
You see, now they know the heat is definitely on. It's on the politicians, the Democrats, and it's now on the media. Now, $36 million isn't a big pain to a company like CBS or, Paramount. They've got big money. That's one instance. That's the part you have to remember. So that they got sued because CBS did something with the Kamala Harris interview to make it look like she could string sentences together when she couldn't. They paid $20 million for one instance. And the other $16 million, which takes it to 36, is what's called in-kind advertising. Meaning is we'll give you X amount of spots on these shows or these shows for free. These ads are worth another $16 million. Would you accept that? And Trump said, yeah, I'll take that. I'm not here to put you out of business. Remember, he sued for like $100 billion, and he's settling for $36 million because this was a warning shot. Remember, this is one instance. So the next one is going to be a lot easier. So, Margaret Brennan, you're on notice. You have been warned. Shut the hell up. Now, let's bring it to the whole Colbert issue. I was talking to Robin earlier today about the whole Colbert stuff. And Jon Stewart has decided to get into the fray as well. And both of these guys went on television. At least Colbert is on CBS. Jon Stewart, I think, is in an office. I think he's on Comedy Central. But in any instance, they went into profanity-laced tirades about President Trump. Jon Stewart decided to put a gospel choir behind him, or look like a gospel choir, and sing a song that basically was F you, F you, F you, F you. Colbert said, go F yourself. Fine. I guess Brandon Carr will be paying these people a visit. He's from the FCC. That's not propaganda. That's just vulgar language you're not supposed to say on television. Who knows where that's going to end up. But it's going to end up with something. And then that's why CBS told Colbert, you got to go. You see, here's the problem with what they're doing. And we have the perfect community to talk about this. Many of you have been around for some time, and you remember Johnny Carson, you remember Jay Leno, and you remember David Letterman. And these guys built empires around late night television. Empires. Johnny Carson, probably the preemptive, the big one, the preeminent late night host. And he was completely, for the most part, I would say completely apolitical. He didn't come across as being a hack for the Democrats or a loon for the Republicans. He just came out and entertained and had guests come on that entertained. And he was funny. And then when he was supposed to, or when he decided he was going to retire, David Letterman, who had the show behind him, they thought he would move up, but Carson wanted Leno. So Leno got it. And then, of course, as you know, at that point, Letterman, pissed off, decides, I'm going to go to CBS and do my show over there. Okay, bye. But nonetheless, they were entertaining. Everybody knew that Letterman was a loon, but they had an entertaining show. I don't know what's happened to late night television. Kimmel, Colbert, Jon Stewart, they're all nuts. And for the last couple of years, because of Trump, they've completely lost their minds, and TDS has got them into a position where their ratings are tanking. And what's funny is people are like, well, Colbert was like the #1 late night show. The hell's that mean? Think about what does that mean? The guy was losing for CBS, losing $40 to $50 million per year. I cannot even believe he lasted that long. You can be #1, but if you still suck, you suck. There's no way around it. They were spending $200 million a year on his show. He had 200 assistants. He himself was making $16 million a year, which by itself is not a bad deal if you're performing. If your show is making even, $10 million or $5 million, even if it was profitable by $3 million, okay, I could keep paying them because everybody's working, it's drawing in viewership and everything's fine, and it's above board. We don't have to worry about it. But when you're losing $40 to $50 million per year, and now you've also become a headache, and you've also become a liability because now Trump's watching, yeah, we don't need that. Nobody needs that. And so as President Trump is saying right now, and he's telling everybody, hey, all the rest of you nuts out there, the Journal, the New York Times, the Post, MSNBC, CNN, all of you, you're now on notice too. I'm not going to take your crap anymore. America doesn't deserve to have to take your crap anymore. And so now the left is fuming because, oh, Trump's coming after people who, use satire. And no, there's a difference between satire and actually lying. Mel Brooks was fantastic with satire. I love Mel Brooks's movies. You can't watch them now. They won't put them on. Blazing Saddles. Where are the white women at? Oh, no. Didn't you hear what he said? Clint Eastwood movies. Out there just popping people left and right. You can't put stuff on anymore because the left has turned into a bunch of diaper-wearing freaks. And I do mean the adults. Plus, I think the biggest problem these late-night guys have is that, A, nobody has to watch you. See, back in the day when Carson and Leno were on, and there were basically 3 channels, and it's like, hey, what's on? It's 11:30. Carson. Okay. Now, you can watch whatever you want. My pre-bed watching show is I'll go and watch something like, I've been binge watching Person of Interest again. I absolutely love that. I haven't seen it in a while. So I'm binge watching Person of Interest. I don't need to turn on Leno. I'm not Leno, but what's his name? Colbert. Not that I would, but people now have choices. They screwed themselves. we subscribe to the Paramount channel, which means I can sit there and watch anything I want. And one of those things is Persons of Interest, who used to be on CBS. I don't need to listen to these nuts. Same with you. If by chance you're still up at 11 o'clock at night, you can watch whatever you want. You can literally go on YouTube and watch shows from earlier today. They cooked their own goose. These entertainment companies destroyed themselves because they gave people options. And because you now have options, these guys are toast. And trust me, Paramount looked at these numbers and went, wait a minute, we're spending $200 million? And there are people on YouTube who are getting more views? And they're working by themselves? And they don't have big studios and production? Nope. Not at all. Just a couple guys sitting in a room, and some people may have a producer here or there. And that's it. And we're not causing any problems. And if I was the people here, this is where it's really going to get concerning, because he left it off. But the fact that some of these social networks still censor people and tell people you can't talk about this, you got to use a certain word and all these kind of things, and yet I can see every single night MSNBC post worst stuff. They can call people what they really are. They can say this or that, but we can't say it here because, advertisers won't like it if you talk about the 2020 election. BS. You're doing it on purpose to stifle the conversation. And now Trump is letting people know party's over. So that is going to be absolutely huge moving forward. And I can't wait to see it. So what else did he say today? Because he was prolific earlier. Let me go to this one before we begin. Oops, not that one. Bad window. It should be this window. Okay. And it says, President Ferdinand Marcos of the Philippines is just leaving the White House with all of his many representatives. It was a beautiful visit, and we concluded our trade deal whereby the Philippines is going to open market with the United States and zero tariffs. The Philippines will pay a 19% tariff. In addition, we will work together militarily. It was a great honor to be with the president. He is highly respected in his country, as he should be. He is also a very good and tough negotiator. We extend our warmest regards to the people of the Philippines. He's winning. He is most assuredly winning all over the place. It is inconsequential, inconceivable, I guess would be the word, when I read different people who I admire out there saying we're about to lose the midterms. I'm like, he's killing it. He's absolutely killing it. And you got people out here saying, oh, looks like the midterms are in jeopardy. It's July 2025 and he's killing it. Who's got a problem? The abstiniacs? Go pound sand. He is doing everything he said he would and more. And so stop. Just stop with the BS. You're getting as bad as the media you used to abhor. You hated how the media was, basically the main lamestream media, but you're becoming the lamestream media. You're taking their place. Stop with the BS. They don't have to listen to me. They keep doing what they're doing. They get their clicks or whatever. But come on, it comes to a point where you're looking stupid and people are looking at you like, well, you might as well just take Joy Reid's place. You're doing the exact same thing. We're done with you. And our president is going after Barack Hussein Obama. That's for sure. I'm gonna read something for you from my partners here at Chapter real quick. For those of you like me turning 65 soon, this is important. My Medicare advisors at Chapter are helping people cut through the Medicare mess and save thousands of dollars. I'm turning 65 all too soon, and I'm getting bombarded with calls and ads, and it's overwhelming. On top of that, I personally didn't even know who to trust, and I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, I already have health care. What do you mean I got to do something with Medicare? Whew. And there are so many scams and selfish agents out there pushing you into plans that make them more money. That's what you really have to be careful of. All my worries went away when I spoke to the people at Chapter. These guys are the real deal. I'm telling you, they start by understanding your needs, not theirs. Not no commissions and all this stuff. Then they compare every plan to find one that saves you the most. On average, they save people $1,100. And I'm inserting this on my own. If you're not in a position where you have to look at, bargain plans, they can also find you the best coverage as well. They're totally honest and independent, which cannot be said about everyone who's doing the Medicare game. With one short and simple free phone call, you can feel confident in your Medicare coverage. There's no pressure, no nonsense, just clear, unbiased guidance, and it's completely free for the fanfare community. Don't take chances with your health or your wallet. Get your free, no obligation Medicare advice from my friends over at Chapter. Just simply call the number on your screen, 475-328-3545 today. You won't regret it. In fact, most people wish they'd call Chapter sooner. All right, get on that. All right, so let me take a few comments before we jump into President Trump's meeting and conference, which is delightful, with the president of the Philippines. Wow, thank you. Chapter's a godsend. Love them. Very cool. Very cool. This is big news. Yeah, it's big news. It's crazy. Breaking. SV says Tim Burchett announces that the House Republicans will subpoena Ghislaine Maxwell to testify in Congress. This is huge. Well, we shall see. Again, I'm not biting on that hot dog until it shows it's worth something at this point. I mean, she may show up, and if she shows up and has something to say, we'll cover it if they let us. But what if she just comes in and goes, I take the fifth? How are you going to take the fifth? You've already been in jail. We'll see. I've been waiting 17 years to see the downfall of Obama. 17, huh? Yeah. I can't go there. Greg Gutfeld. Yeah, he's a comedian. He has fun. Somehow he continues to get good ratings. Yeah. Everyone email Bondi and DOJ and urge her to appoint Mike Davis, Article 3 project, as special counsel. You're jumping ahead. I'm going to talk to you about that. Well, is it for today or for tomorrow? Or tonight do I have that? It might be tonight. But I got a special person hanging in the wings who might be even better than Mike Davis. So you're going to have to hang on for that. I think that'll probably be tonight because I got so much stuff to get to. And I don't want to be here with you guys, keep you guys here long. I know you have dinner and family and everything else. So with that being said, let's jump into President Trump's meeting with Fernand Marcos of the Philippines. And then when it gets to the juicy stuff, we're going to talk. Ready? Let's listen. Let me make sure I got it queued up. Yep.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's a great honor to have President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. of the Philippines, a great family legacy, and highly respected in this country. I know that because I have many friends in the Philippines, and there's great respect, or I couldn't say it, so congratulations.
Thank you.
We're going to be talking about trade. We're going to be talking about war and peace. They're a very important nation militarily, and we've had some great drills lately. We're back with them. I think I can say that the last administration was not getting along with them too well. They didn't get along with anybody. They didn't know. Honestly, they didn't know what they were doing. But we have some fantastic military relationships with the Philippines, and that's been reinstituted. And Pete, I would say that you couldn't be happier, right, with the relationship. So I just want to say it's an honor to have you. We're going to talk about trade today, and we're very close to finishing a trade deal, big trade deal actually. And we do a lot of business with you. It's a lot of income coming in for both groups. But I was surprised to see the kind of numbers. They're very big, and they're going to get bigger under what we're doing and what we're proposing. And I just want to thank you for being with us. It's a great honor. You and your representatives, it's really a great honor. We have a big announcement. AstraZeneca, the big drug company, is going to spend $50 billion, just announced $50 billion in the United States in order to build various places all over the country, big manufacturing plants, pharmaceutical plants all over the country. So that's an honor. And he said they did that because of the election and because of the fact that the tariffs are placed. So they're building their facilities in New York. $50 billion, that's a big investment. And it's going to be a very good investment. I have no doubt about it. So thank you to AstraZeneca. And with that, I'd like to have you say a few words, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Of course, we're all very happy to be here to once again reaffirm the very strong ties between the Philippines and the United States, ties that go back over 100 years. And considering the context in which we live these days, especially in my part of the world, this has evolved into as important a relationship as is possible to have. We must remember that the United States is our only treaty partner in the Philippines, and that has stood us in good stead over the years, certainly through the Second World War, and the cultural memory of all Filipinos, down to even the school children, is that our strongest, closest, most reliable ally has always been the United States. And that is something that we value, that we are grateful for, and that we will continue to foster as we go on. With the leadership of President Trump, I am very confident that we will be able to achieve that. I think it is worthwhile to remember that it was President Trump who, in his first term, characterized the relationship between the Philippines and the United States as ironclad. And that has been necessarily the case since that time that you made that statement, sir. And it is something that the Philippines will always hold close to its heart. Thank you once again, and we are honored, and it is our great pleasure to be here and to visit with the President of the United States. Thank you, sir.
It's my great honor. Any questions, please?
Mr. President?
Yeah, please, go ahead. Go ahead.
Mr. President, do you think that Fed Chair Jerome Powell should resign?
I think he's doing a bad job, but he's going to be out pretty soon anyway. In eight months, he'll be out. But I call him too late. He's too late all the time. He should have lowered interest rates many times. Europe lowered their rate 10 times. We lowered ours none. And it's causing a problem for people that want to buy a home. Look, our economy is so strong now, we're blowing through everything. We're setting records. You know that. You see that. And whether it's the Philippines or anyone else, we're setting records at levels that nobody's ever seen before. But you know what? People aren't able to buy a house because this guy is a numbskull. He keeps the rates too high, and probably doing it for political reasons. The only time I remember him cutting rates, I mean, he cut the rates just before the election to try and help Kamala or whoever he was trying to help. He probably didn't know. And he's building a building. He's $2.7 billion. They have a $900 million overrun. What is that? And that was given by Biden. That was another Biden deal. And this guy's building this building that's severely overrun. And what does he need the building for? What does he need? He needs space for more people. So they did a big study the other day, and they called all of the great intellects and the great economists and all of the great everything. And it was 71, and only 2 got it right. Me and another gentleman that happens to be very smart. 69 people got it wrong, and the Fed got it wrong, more wrong than anybody. And you know, he has these think tanks, and they build buildings for people that think. And it's really not thinking. It's a little bit of combination of thinking, but it's something you sort of have or you don't have. They don't. The job he's done is just terrible. He ought to raise interest rates. You know, we should be at 1%. We should be leading the world. Instead, we're paying 4%. And if you look at what that means, that's over $1 trillion in interest that we have to pay. That with the striking of a pen, we would be saving more than $1 trillion. Is that right, Scott?
Yes,
do you have anything to say about it?
Yes, sir. I called yesterday and this morning for the Fed to do a big internal investigation to understand not their monetary policy, but everything else. The Fed has had big mission creep, and that's where a lot of the spending is going. That's why they're building these new or refurbishing these buildings. And I think they got to stay in their lane. And I think that based on the way they cut rates last fall, they should be cutting rates now.
It's inconceivable. I know the Fed very well that they can be spending $2.7 billion to build a building. They don't do anything. They just, I mean, it's the greatest job. You show up one day, a half a day, you make a little speech, the economy is doing well, the economy is not doing well, we're going to raise interest. And he's got it wrong. That's why I call him too late, T-O-O, too late. And it's really too bad. But it is affecting people that want to buy houses, and that shouldn't happen.
And Mr. President,
and you know, he should lower them. Those rates should be 3 points lower. That's what they should be, 3 points lower, maybe more than that.
I would like to ask both of you one person. Mr. President Marcos, next year, Philippines is going to be the rotating chair of ASEAN. I wonder, how do you plan to balance your relationship between the United States and China? And for President Trump, Kremlin yesterday said if you are going to Beijing in September, they wouldn't rule out a meeting between you and President Putin. Is such a meeting possible? And how soon do you plan to visit China?
Well, we have a lot of meetings possible. President Xi has invited me to China, and we'll probably be doing that in the not too distant future, a little bit out, but not too distant. And I've been invited by a lot of people, and we'll make those decisions pretty soon. Please.
Well, as you say, we are chairing ASEAN for 2026. There is no need, in a sense, to balance, as you characterize as, to balance our relationship between the United States and China, simply because our foreign policy is an independent one, and we are essentially concerned with the defense of our territory and the exercise of our sovereign rights. Now, whether we do this not alone, we need to do this with our partners. And again, our strongest partner has always been the United States. But of course, we are trying to form coalitions and multilateral relations so that those like-minded nations who share the same values as we do, who hew to international law, most specifically the UNCLOS, present that position very clearly to anyone who has intentions of unilaterally changing the world order, and that is how we are guided in that.
And I don't mind if he gets along with China, because we're getting along with China very well. We have a very good relationship. In fact, the magnets, which is a little complex piece of material, but the magnets are coming out, very well. They're sending them in record numbers. We're getting along with China very well, and I don't mind if the president dealt with China, if that's meant, because I think he has to do what's right for his country. I've always said, make the Philippines great again. Do whatever you need to do, but you're dealing with China wouldn't bother me at all.
No, well, now it is something that we have to do in any case, and certainly.
Breaking news into the Fanfare news feed.
Some of you guys have been asking about who should be a special counsel, and somebody mentioned Mike Davis. I think I know who's going to be the special counsel, and they screwed up, they messed up big time.
Back to the White House soon. Federal judges in the District of New Jersey have declined to extend Alina Habba's appointment as interim U.S. attorney. President Trump appointed Habba to the position on March the 24th. Interim U.S. attorneys are only allowed to serve for 120 days if they are not either confirmed by the U.S. Senate or extended indefinitely by the district court in their jurisdiction. We'll find out.
All right, so Hakeem Jeffries utilized some serious backdoor corruption to get Alina Habba ended as the U.S. attorney in New Jersey. Her 120 days, which President Trump named her, is up, and they're not going to extend it. And since she has not been confirmed by the Senate as of yet for some reason, now she no longer has a job. I forget the actual day, maybe today, maybe tomorrow. So here's what's going to happen. President Trump is going to name another U.S. attorney up in New Jersey who's going to have another 4 months. That could be Mike Davis. That could be anybody who's going to step in there. They're going to take up the cases she's already been working on. They're going to keep going. Those cases aren't going to go away. Sorry, Hakeem, they're not dropping the cases. I don't think she should have been in New Jersey anyway. I think her calling is what's about to happen. Now, I can't stick my neck on a line too far here, but I would bet that Alina Habba will be the special prosecutor to go after Obama and everybody else. I can't wait. I can't wait for him to go, Hakeem, now I gotcha. Now I got the person I really want as the special prosecutor. She would be an absolute pit bull. Oh, you just pissed her off, huh? You just said you're not going to confirm her, huh? Oh, she's now swinging in the wind. She doesn't have a job, huh? Yeah, watch what happens. She's going to, I would bet, as close as she has been with both Bondi and President Trump, she knows Trump intimately. She was his attorney for all through the crap. She would be a perfect person to be the special counsel. That would be the Democrats' worst nightmare. Worst nightmare. None of their attacks could they come after. She was a U.S. attorney. She's not white, whatever she is, Indian or whatever. She's a woman. All your arrows get taken away from you. And now I hope Pam Bondi names her as a special counsel. Now, I had already had a segment ready for that later on, probably tonight, but because that just broke, because, we were talking about what would happen if the judges didn't extend her, these scumbag judges. And everybody knew they're probably not going to extend her. The hate Trump judges are going to just make sure she can't continue. All right. Yeah, sometimes you ask for something and you're going to get it. Now she no longer will be the U.S. attorney up in New Jersey, which I think was an offside job for her. This is her calling. I hope we see Alina Habba as a special counsel named by Pam Bondi. All right, back to the interview with Marcos.
What are you coming to the
Mr. President, do you support the Justice Department seeking a new interview with Elaine Maxwell and George, the Attorney General, to see?
I don't know anything about it. They're going to what? Meet her?
Your Deputy Attorney General is reached out to Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney asking for a new interview.
Yeah, I don't know about it, but I think it's something that sounds appropriate to do, yeah.
Do you have any concern that your Deputy Attorney General, as your former attorney, would be conducting the interview, given?
No, I have no concern. He's a very talented person. He's very smart. I didn't know that they were going to do it. I don't really follow that too much. It's sort of a witch hunt, just a continuation of the witch hunt. The witch hunt that you should be talking about is they caught President Obama absolutely cold. Tulsi.
I can't help it. Watching this man perform is just amazing. This dude comes out and asks President Trump about, Todd Blanche and stuff, they're going to go talk to Ghislaine Maxwell. That's what you're going to talk to me about, you idiot? That's what you want to go? And so the earliest clip that I did, the intro, this is where he decides to go all in. And what? You just saw him make the pivot. What? I don't know. But what I do know about is this.
Gabbard, what they did to this country in 2016, starting in 2016, but going up to 2020 in the election. They tried to rig the election, and they got caught. And there should be very severe consequences for that. You know, when we caught Hillary Clinton, I said, you know what? Let's not go too far here. It's the ex-wife of a president, and I thought it was sort of terrible. And I let her off the hook, and I'm very happy I did. But it's time to start, after what they did to me, and whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people. Obama.
See, I was playing nice. I let you go, Hillary. You didn't learn your lesson. You kept poking the bear. After what you did to me? Nah, no deals. No deals. That was chilling. In fact, if you're Obama or if you're Hillary or any of these people, you're like, damn, we messed up, didn't we? we should have just let it go, huh? If we had let it go and just let him go into office, you wouldn't be dealing with any of this stuff right now. If you just let him be president, you wouldn't have to deal with it now. Now I'm going to have to come for you. I love it, President Trump.
Been caught directly. So people say, oh, you know, a group. It's not a group. It's Obama. His orders are on the paper. The papers are signed. The papers came right out of their office. They sent everything to be highly classified. Well, the highly classified's been released. And what they did in 2016 and in 2020 is very criminal. It's criminal at the highest level. So that's really the things you should be talking about. I know nothing about the other, but I think it's appropriate that they do go.
May I ask you about that, Mr. President?
Yeah.
Tulsi Gabbard has submitted a criminal referral to the Department of Justice. From your perspective, who should the DOJ target as part of their investigation? What specific figures in the Obama administration?
Well, based on what I read, and I read pretty much what you read, it would be President Obama. He started it. And Biden was there with him, and Comey was there, and Clapper. The whole group was there. Brennan, they were all there in a room. Right here, this was the room. This is much more beautiful than it was then, but that's okay. I have nice pictures up. They came out of the vaults. They were in there for 100 years. This is much more beautiful. We have the Declaration of Independence now in the room, which wasn't here. I guess people didn't feel too good about putting it here, but I do. But you know what? If you look at those papers, they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama. It wasn't lots of people all over the place. It was them too. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? And except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press for his entire life, that's the one they... Look, he's guilty. It's not a question. You know, I like to say, let's give it time. It's there. He's guilty. This was treason. This was every word you can think of. They tried.
As I started the show, the President of the United States just dropped a Hiroshima-sized bomb in the Oval Office. This was treason. And all those reporters, so you have to understand the setting right now. There's a whole bunch of reporters sitting there from major networks who the President of the United States looked right at him and said, it's treason. He just levied the highest crime on the books in America above everything else and said they did this. That dude right there, you know who I'm talking about. You heard of him, right? Barack Hussein Obama. The only thing I didn't understand, and I'm going to have to look around, maybe offer this question to you guys. When he stopped and cut in and said, no, they didn't have these pictures on the wall here. It's a lot more beautiful now. And then, this document, the Declaration of Independence, it wasn't here. I guess they weren't, interested in that. And I thought to myself, what the hell was that all about? There's another communication, a comm that he put out there. He knows what he's saying. I'm going to have to look at that again and think to myself, what was he saying when he said, I guess they didn't, weren't interested in that? The Declaration of Independence, man, I'm going to have to go read every single word of the Declaration of Independence now. Maybe you should too. There's a reason why he just dropped that in there. Oh, by the way, this office is beautiful. You see what I've done with it? You see the pictures? Yeah. And I brought the Declaration of Independence back. What the hell did he mean by that? I'd love to hear you guys tell me what you think. But yeah, he just casually said, yeah, treason.
To steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election. They did things that nobody's ever even imagined, even in other countries. You've seen some pretty rough countries. This man has seen some pretty rough countries, but you've never seen anything like it. And we have all of the documents. And from what Tulsi told me, she's got thousands of additional documents coming. So President Obama, it was his concept, his idea, but he also got it from crooked Hillary Clinton. Crooked is a $3 bill. Hillary Clinton and her group, the Democrats, spent $12 million to Christopher Steele to write up a report that was a total fake report. Took 2 years to figure that out, but it came out that it was a total fake report. It was made up fiction. And they used that. Now, the one thing they weren't able to do was to, and probably the only thing I respect about the press in years is the press refused to write it before the election. They refused to put it in. The Steele report was a disaster. All lies, all fabrication, all admitted, an admitted fraud. She paid $12 million, and the Democrats, for that report to a wise guy named Christopher Steele. He wrote a phony report, and they wanted to get that report in before the election. And I'll tell you what, I talk about all the time, the fake news, how bad it is. But in this case, they wouldn't do it. They saw it, they read it, and they said, we don't believe it. And it was only after, substantially, like a month and a half after the election, that it got printed, and it was a big wisp. It was just like a bang of nothing, because the election had ended. If that report had gotten published by the New York Times or somebody, and I respect the Times for maybe only this, because they're crooked as you can be. They're a terrible paper, a crooked, corrupt paper. But for this one moment, they said, this is bullshit, we can't put this in. And neither could any other paper. Wall Street Journal is a lousy paper, very, very dishonest paper. As you see, I'm suing them for a lot of money because they do things very badly. It's got a nice name, but it's really, in my opinion, it's a terrible paper. And it can be corrupt. But just so you know, they didn't take the Steele report. It was the dossier. Remember the famous dossier? I called it the fake news dossier. The news wouldn't publish it. And I'm amazed. They had 2.5 months. It was finished. 2.5 months. That was supposed to be what was going to happen. And it got published a couple of months after the election. And frankly, nobody cared too much about it. But that was a big thing. No, we caught Hillary Clinton. We caught Barack Hussein Obama. They're the ones, and then you have many, many people under them. Susan Rice, they're all there. The names are all there. And I guess they figured they're going to put this in classified information, and nobody will ever see it again, but it doesn't work that way. And it's the most unbelievable thing I think I've ever read. So you ought to take a look at that and stop talking about nonsense, because this is big stuff. Never has a thing like this happened in the history of our country. And by the way, it morphed into the 2020 race. And the 2020 race was rigged, and it was a rigged election.
Boom! So somebody put there, boom! You see, everything that Tulsi was talking about was 2016. This is the first inference that, yeah, it's part of 2020 as well. We were all waiting. Hey, when are they going to talk about 2020? I understand 2016. What about the 2020 stuff? And he just went, yep, it's all tied together. You know that continuing conspiracy people were talking about, and how you can extend and go back into some crimes where the statute of limitation has expired? He just told you. He just did what was needed. He built the bridge right in front of you, right in front of everybody in the Oval Office, as to how he's going to connect 2016 and some of the stuff that they did, even some of the non-treasonous stuff, and because there is not going to be an expiration of the statute of limitations. That's huge. That is absolutely huge. That's the first time we've heard from anybody, not Tulsi, not Pam, anybody who has said at this point, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to tie in 2020 to all of this. This has got to be so fearful. And for those of you in the chat, if you're trolls or whatever, who keep saying, I'm not going to hold my breath, nothing's going to happen, just go ahead and log off. I'm saying log off because I want to say a stronger term, if you know what I mean. So I'll say log off instead of saying the other words, because I'm so tired of explaining to people. This is the first time that charges could be brought. Just to give you a little background, what I said the last couple of days is 2016 to 2020, they were not going to allow President Trump to bring charges. They were working hand in hand against him. No charges were going to surface. If you saw the movie last night, you realize nothing was going to happen. They were not going to allow him to bring charges. 2020, he's not in office. 2020 to 2024, Biden and Kamala did their business. There is never going to be any charges. 2025, President Trump reassumes office, and now is the first time he can actually do something. Quit being a pinhead. If you don't understand that, you're just not going to get it. Hopefully some people in the chat can explain it to you by now. It's like, wake up, snap out of it. This is the first time the charges can be brought. Makes you just think about what people are like. Come on, man. Think before you type. Think. Everything we've seen has been one big clusterfrig. They've tried to intimidate him. They've tried to do all these different things. They didn't want him to even have the chance to bring charges. And now he can actually do it. It's the first time. He's been in office 6 months. So stop looking back and going, oh, nothing ever happens, because nothing could have happened. You have to look at this as like it's a fresh slate. All right, get it done, Mr. Trump. Come on, let's do it. And he's telling you, I'm doing it. So stop with the, nothing's going to happen.
And because it was rigged, we have millions of people in our country. We had inflation. We solved the inflation problem. But millions and millions of people came into our country because of that. And people that shouldn't have been, people from gangs and from jails and from mental institutions, people that we don't want in our country, people that we're getting out, dangerous people. 11,888 murderers, many of them 50%, more than 50%, murdered more than one person. I hate to say this with such a distinguished guest, but they asked me a question. I got to answer the question. No, Barack Hussein Obama is the ringleader. Hillary Clinton was right there with him, and so was Sleepy Joe Biden, and so were the rest of them. Comey, Clapper, the whole group. And they tried to rig an election, and they got caught. And then they did rig the election in 2020. And then because I knew I won that election by a lot, I did it a third time, and I won in a landslide. Every swing state won the popular vote. But I won that all the same way in 2020. And look at the damage that was caused.
How crucial is the ammunition hub And how crucial is the ammunition hub that the U.S. plans to build in Subic and the Luzon corridor, considering that these will be built in areas that hosts strategic ports as well as military air bases?
You're talking ammunition?
Yes, the U.S. House Congressional Committee on Appropriations approved the budget.
Well, it's very important. Otherwise, we wouldn't have approved it.
Sorry?
Yeah, it's very important. Otherwise, we wouldn't. We need ammunition. We're going to end up in a few months, we'll have more ammunition than any country has ever had. We're going to have more missiles than any country has ever had. We're going to have all the speedy missiles. We'll have the speedy ones, the slow ones, the accurate ones, the ones that are slightly less accurate. We have everything. But we will have more ammunition than any country has ever had. It's very important to me.
And how
Go ahead, please, Red.
Sir, when you say that you're close to making a trade deal, what gaps remain? And for President Marcos, sir, I was just wondering, do you not think that perhaps the Philippines hosting U.S. missile systems could be considered escalatory by China, especially because they can strike even by China? Thank you.
Well, it's an honor to be with this gentleman. You know, I've known him, and I've known his family, actually, but I've known him. And I assume you're from the Philippines? Are you from the Philippines?
Yes, sir.
That's good. You're very lucky to be from the Philippines, right? It's a great place. But we're going to have a very good relationship. I mean, I know you had some problems with another president, and it was not your fault. It was the president's fault. And the country was maybe tilting toward China, but we untilted it very, very quickly. But you know, you had a country that was tilting toward China for a period of time, and I just don't think that would have been good for you. You can deal with China, you should deal with China, but when I got elected, everything changed, and they came right back to us. Say it again? Yeah, Brian, go ahead.
Oh, Mr. President, I do want to piggyback off that.
Sorry, I had a question to President Marcos.
Yes. I'm sorry, what was the question again?
It was about whether having U.S. missiles hosted in the Philippines could be considered escalatory by China.
All of what we consider part of the modernization of the Philippine military is really as a response to the circumstances that surround the situation around the South China Sea, and now what we used to refer to as Asia Pacific, which we have expanded now to the Indo-Pacific. And if we would certainly, like in any kind of military spending, we would wish that it wasn't necessary, but it is. And so that is what we are doing. And as an adjunct to the question about the ammunition.
It would also unleash you just by lowering the interest rates. If the Fed would lower the rates, we wouldn't even have to do that. But we are thinking about no tax on capital gains on houses. And I'm very impressed that you asked that question because nobody knew that.
Well,
how did you find that out? That's right.
I wonder why there's somebody I'm very close to.
There's a leaker. There's a leaker.
I've got a question. I find it a very interesting world that we know more about two people at a Coldplay concert just hours after that viral video than we know of Thomas Crooks 1 year after attempting to assassinate you. What is holding back the investigation on Thomas Crooks?
Well, they've reported to me and they've told me things, and they really say they haven't found anything that was abnormal. I would say this: the Secret Service was very brave because they were right there and they jumped on me. They made a mistake. They should have had somebody on that roof, and they should have had communication with the local police, who also, they did a very good job, but they made some mistakes, and we have a whole different group of people now. I don't think anything can happen, but I think we have the best people anywhere in the world right now, and I think they've learned. And they went into him very, in great detail. They gave me the whole thing, and what can I do? They say that it was just a nut job that was looking to do this, and I spoke with the FBI, the new FBI. I spoke to the FBI, who was the old FBI. I wouldn't have believed a thing they said, because the old FBI under Comey was crooked as hell. He was one of the most crooked. Everybody should read the Horowitz report. Unfortunately, Bill Barr didn't use it. But the Horowitz report, not appointed by me, it was a report on Comey and the FBI. It is one of the worst shots at a human being I think I've ever seen. In fact, the New York Times did an editorial that was one of the worst editorials I've ever seen about anybody. That was about Comey. You had to go back and get, and Barr didn't use it because he didn't have the guts to use it, or something happened. I don't know. Too bad. He went to.
All right, so he took that stupid question. Well, I guess it wasn't stupid, and came right back to the treason, because as you've heard and as you've been seeing inside the chat, people are like, are they just going to avoid that question? Yep. Yeah. And so he had to come back now. The guy asked him about Thomas Crooks. Yeah, great. What about the treason? I want you to look at Horowitz and the report that he did, which they should have already looked up. He's telling you to look it up. That's why he's saying this, is for more people, more Americans, to do your homework. Go look at the Horowitz report to see what Comey did. These people aren't going to do it. They're like, oh, what time's the cocktail party? When do I need to be at the bar? Okay, because, man, this guy just keeps talking. He won't shut up. They don't care. They're not going to cover this. At this point, I showed you Caroline Leavitt and how she went out and talked to the press yesterday, and I posted a video of it too. And nothing. And they're standing in front of him. Nothing. And you know, when she does her presser tomorrow or Thursday, it's going to be the same way. Nothing. At this point, he's talking to you.
To Durham, instead of doing the Durham, all they had to use is the Horowitz report. And I always felt badly for Horowitz, frankly, because he's a Democrat, I guess. He was appointed by a Democrat. But that report has gotten lost, and it shouldn't be lost. You should all go back. It should be mandatory reading. Go back and read the Horowitz report on Comey and his cronies. And you'll see exactly, we're going to add that to all the stuff that we found. It just confirms it. But what we found is even more so. Now, we found absolute, this isn't like evidence, this is like proof, irrefutable proof that Obama was seditious, that Obama was trying to lead a coup, and it was with Hillary Clinton, with all these other people, but Obama headed it up. And, I get a kick when I hear everyone talks about people I never even heard of. It was just, no, it was Obama. He headed it up. And it says so right in the papers. Got everything. This is the biggest scandal in the history of our country, and it really goes on to even the auto pen, because it all relates to the same thing. It all started the same.
Okay, he just did it again. Hey, how are we going to try these people for stuff they did back in 2016 that, the statute of limitations may have, expired? And also, how are you going to get Obama and pierce the veil of the presidential immunity? Well, because he did stuff after he was president. And President Trump is telling you how it's going to work. We're going to tie in the auto pen, we're going to tie in 2020, and we're going to tie in 2016, and we're going to show you how all of this stuff is still connected, and the same players have been involved for the last 8 or 9 years. He's telling you. Oh, well, he's telling them. They don't even, right over their heads. They could care less. Imagine you pulled up and you're on the road and you see the biggest accident ever. Well, you're going to probably take pictures or stop, or you're going to talk about it with your friends, or you go to the best football game ever and the guy throws a Hail Mary with 1 second left and he becomes folklore and everybody talks about it. He's telling them about the biggest crime in American history. And they're all like, I don't know. You don't know because you're not trying to know. So it's up to you.
You have an auto pen, which is a tremendous, well, we don't have a president. We have an auto pen that signs everything. I'll bet you sign everything. You don't have auto pens. Everybody, who doesn't sign? You're the president of a country. But it's all that whole thing leading right up to the end of it is the auto pen. And the auto pen was used by people, and Biden knew nothing about it. They were signing documents that he knew nothing about. As an example, they released the Unselect Committee of Liability. The Unselect Committee spent 2 years grilling everybody, and then they destroyed all the evidence. You know why? Because the evidence made them guilty, and he gave them all a pardon. The Cheney, all the scum that was on the Unselect Committee, Cryan, Adam Kinzinger, and Democrats, and he gave them a pardon. Do you have something else, guys?
I was just going to add one more thing on Adam Schiff. Director Pulte reports that Adam Schiff claims he lived in a one-bedroom apartment. How does a family of four, you're a developer, a very successful developer, how does a family of four live in a one-bedroom apartment?
Now it looks like Adam Schiff really did a bad thing. They have him. Now let's see what happens. It's not up to me. It's not up to, I stay out of it purposely. But it's mortgage loan fraud. It's a big deal. He defrauded banks and insurance companies and the federal government. But it's very simple. It's mortgage loan fraud. And you're right. It's a lot of people to live in a one-bedroom apartment, right? But he put it down. But he has a lot of other things far worse than that. So, no, Adam Schiff, they have him 100% on mortgage fraud. Now, if there's anybody else in this room except you would have no problem. But anybody else in this room, you'd have a problem. I'd have a problem. Yeah, please.
So there was a hearing yesterday in the Harvard case. Would you allow Harvard to get their federal dollars back as a part of any agreement with the administration?
No, I'm not giving. Harvard's been given $7 billion. Can you believe it? By the $7 billion. And we want money to go to all universities, not Harvard. Harvard got more than anybody else. They have $52 billion. They get huge tax incentives and tax breaks on that $52 billion. But they have $52 billion, and they got $7 billion over a short period of time. And we have a very hostile judge appointed by Barack Hussein Obama, a very, very hostile judge who knows exactly right from wrong, but you know, we expect to win it on appeal. She hasn't given a decision yet, but she's very hostile, and she was put by Barack Hussein Obama. And generally speaking, anybody that does that, we're gonna have problems with. So we don't expect to have. We won the case yesterday. Anybody that was there, that was a neutral, would say we easily won the case. But a lot of the case, and a big part of it's going to be how much money Harvard gets in the future. That's not part of the case, and they're not going to get very much.
Mr. President, where are we in terms of negotiating about the reciprocal tariff? How far are we
With who?
from the Philippines? Yes, sir. How far
Are you from the Philippines?
Yes, sir.
Good.
I'm from the Philippines. How far are we from achieving?
Well, it's tough. He's a very tough negotiator. So far, we're not there because he's negotiating too tough. In fact, I used to like him better than I do now. He's too tough. But we'll probably agree to something. But he's strong, a strong negotiator. He loves your country.
Mr. President,
when are you coming to the Philippines, sir?
You talked a lot about the severe consequences that those who were involved in the Russia hoax must face. In your view, sir, what are the next steps now that these documents are out there in Tulsi Gabbard?
Well, the Justice Department would have to act. And we have a very competent, very good, very loyal to our country person in Pam Bondi, very respected. And it's going to be her decision.
Just a follow-up to that, sir. Kristi Noem was in New York City visiting an off-duty CBP officer who was allegedly shot this weekend by an illegal alien who came into the country during the previous administration.
Right.
What is your message to any local leaders who continue to push sanctuary city policies after this nearly tragic incident?
So the only thing I don't understand, because you like to understand things and we're all smart people and all, but why would they allow 21 million people into our country, unvetted, unchecked? You don't allow it. You wouldn't allow people then. He's tough. No, their country is run properly. Biden and his group of thugs, and I don't think it was Biden, I think it was the people that surrounded that beautiful Resolute desk right behind you. They allowed 21 million people, probably much more than that, and many of them came from jails and gangs and drug dealers and mental institutions, insane asylums. Many of them are very sick. 21 million, probably 25 million, probably even more than that. And we're getting them out. Many were murderers, as I said. They killed people. Many killed more than one person. Stone cold murders. I don't understand why they would have allowed that. There's only two reasons. The vote. Is there one voters? That's one reason. I don't think they would have done it for that because they cheat. You know, they're so good at cheating, they don't need that. But the vote, and the second reason is they hate our country. I think they hate our country. I actually do. And it's the biggest problem. I mean, much of our time is spent with, you know, we have the strongest border anywhere in the world now. Maybe even stronger than your border, if you can believe it. We have no people came in last month, 0, which is pretty amazing. I'm not even sure I can believe that. But liberals are the ones that do that calculation. So, but we had no people come in. A year ago, we had hundreds of thousands of people come in. Hundreds of thousands of people. And they flowed in. And if it wasn't for the election, it would have been millions of people came in last year. So millions of people prior to election time, they allowed millions and millions of people to come into our, I mean, you saw it. They'd open the gates. If you took an Alabama-LSU football game that holds 128,000 people, I was there, 128,000 people, and I liked them and they liked me. But if you took that and doubled it, that's what used to flow into our country on a daily basis. It's not even believable. And we're getting them out, and we're starting with the worst ones. And we had a man shot yesterday, a police officer who's great gentleman, shot right here in the throat. Probably won't be able to speak again. But he was brave, and he shot the other guy, and they ended up getting him. And you saw the scene where his friend took him to a hospital and dumped him down on the sidewalk. The whole thing was crazy. But why would anybody do to our country what these Democrats have done? And honestly, we can never forget it. We can never forget it. What they have done, the damage that they've done to America is very, very sad. Thank you very much, everybody.
I never understand how they have the president of another country sitting there, and they asked at least the people from the Philippines asked the right questions because they were talking to their president per se, or stuff that pertains to their country. But the American press that just wants to completely avoid this stuff, it's not going to work for them. It's definitely not going to work. Let me just show you this. This is earlier I had told you about everything that was happening with Alina Habba and how she was, basically being screwed by the Democrats. So let me spend a little bit of time and let's jump into this because it really pisses me off.
I have been pointing this out since Trump was elected. I've probably been pointing out so many times that many of you probably, when I get into it, come on, we've heard it, we got it, move on. Michael Caputo was on, and he was asked about this effort of Mueller and the special counsel investigation and what it all means. And here is the Limbaugh echo.
I'm not quite certain they're going to beat President Trump and the people around President Trump, but I believe that is their purpose. I think the establishment that's been entrenched in Washington for so very, very long on both sides of the aisle, they can't have another Donald Trump pop up in 10 years, another billionaire populist who wants to make things right in Washington. So they have to punish Donald Trump, his family, destroy his businesses, his friends, where I guess I fit in, and others, and just to make sure that this never happens again.
Folks, I cannot tell you how correct that is. I can't. That is almost 100% of the motivation behind the Mueller investigation, the deep state leaks on supposed collusion between Trump and Russia. All of this is aimed at destroying Donald Trump and everybody with him, to send the signal to others who might be thinking of trying it, like Kid Rock. Don't even think about it, because we will destroy you too.
You see, I put that in there because, again, I keep seeing it in the chat. I don't know if they're trolls or not. They could be. But when people wonder why did none of this stuff come out and why was nobody held accountable? And one of the big reasons is because they were in destruction mode. And these people are like, well, I'm only here for a couple of years under this guy Trump, and I plan on having a life in a family and in a nice cushy house, and I don't want to get ruined because, I understand he's all about this America first and MAGA thing, but I'm me first. I'm MAGA, me. Make me a great again. And so without the commitment from people to say you're gonna endure some pain. You are going to, they're gonna come at you 6 ways from Sunday. I think that's pretty much what Chuck Schumer said. And then last night you saw the movie, how they attacked Devin Nunes. And you should know they attacked Michael Flynn, Sidney Powell, Rudy Giuliani. All these people were just completely decimated. They destroyed them, or tried to. What was Rudy Giuliani had to take a taxi home from the court because his entire life fortune they were trying to take from him? Michael Flynn, I spoke to he and his sister, and they tell us what his family went through. So go back to 2016, and Bill Barr's like, I'm 60-something years old. I'm about to retire, and if I bring this charge, they're going to tear me a new one, and they're going to threaten my wife and my kids and my grandkids. So sorry, Trump and America, I'm just going to have to let this go. And nothing happened. Jeff Sessions, I'm out. No, I got nothing to do with this. I'm going to go back here to Alabama and live in obscurity, but at least I'll live. I'll live the life that I want to live with my family. Sorry, can't do this. It just sickens me when people say, well, why didn't they do it back then? Because nobody back then was willing to put their lives on the line. I don't mean physically in terms of being unalive, but their livelihoods on the line. I think one of the problems that Trump made back in the first administration was he trusted people. He thought they were ride or die. You ready for this? Yeah, we're ready. Not that ready. No, I can't go there with you. And so, and you saw Jeff Sessions very quickly. I'm out. Bye. Bill Barr comes in. All right, Bill Barr, I'm the new guy. Can't do it, bro. I just bought a boat. And on and on and on. And you saw people saving their own asses. You have to commend Tulsi Gabbard. You have to commend Pam Bondi. You obviously have to commend people like Dan Bongino and Kash Patel. They have decided, well, you know what? I had a great podcast business. I was making a whole lot of money. But I'd rather chase bad guys and make America great again. And they're going to destroy him. Or try to. Inevitably, they are going to come for him. Wait until the first arrest happens. They're going to come for Pam Bondi, a new bride, her new marriage. They're going to come for her. No doubt. She can be talking right now to some of these people like Flynn and Sidney Powell and Giuliani. And she's going to say, how bad is it going to be? It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. They're going to tell you and accuse you of humping goats. They're going to put everything they possibly can out there. The media is going to be complicit. Maybe President Trump learned his lesson. Like, if I just let these people go, they're going to just blah, 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 and say whatever they want to say about Michael Flynn, what they said about Sidney, what they said about Devin Nunes. They just got away with it. So let me just introduce you to another theory here. President Trump is doing ground cover right now. I'm going to sue CBS. Yep, you're going to have to pay me. I'm going to sue the Wall Street Journal. He is laying groundwork because he knows some of these companies, especially are public companies. You can't have gazillion-dollar lawsuits sitting on your books. The one thing these people love more than politics is money. And so he's using his office to do the exact same thing they try to do to him. Hey, sorry, I'm suing you for $100 billion. I hope your shares look well. Hope the shareholders are happy now that they might lose $100 billion. Hey. We're sorry. We won't do it again. We'll even fire this guy. Okay. I'll settle. Hand me $36 million. Thank you. We got away with that one. And now he's off to the Wall Street Journal. Gotcha. You're saying stuff that ain't true. It's going to cost you tens of billions of dollars. Oh, and we're going to sue Rupert Murdoch too. Yep, we're going to sue everybody. And so now it's different. They're not going to be able to do the same thing they did to Nunes and Flynn and Giuliani and Sidney Powell and Paul Manafort and Steve Bannon and Carter Page. I'm naming these names so you understand what happened for people who stuck their necks out. Cut him down. Don't let them talk. And so what President Trump is doing right now, or Pam Bondi rather, or Todd Blanche, is they're making sure these media people stay honest. Maybe that's why they're quiet at the press conferences. Maybe if we just don't say anything, it'll go away. Notice what's been happening on some of these channels. Some of these big names, the firebrands, they've been disappearing. Hey, shut up. You can't say that stuff. The next thing is they're going to come for the podcast. I'm telling you it's coming. This is what President Trump realizes. I can't have people in positions of power who are afraid to do their job because they're going to get destroyed. See, when you start looking at the big picture on this and you look at the big picture from before, you're like, okay, I got to fix this. This is a problem. The media and these idiots went out and personally destroyed all these people. And so how do we fix this? Okay, so we got to fix this so the same thing can't happen. And here he is 6 months in and he's cutting them off. Look at this as if you're game planning it yourself. Look at it as if you look back now in 2016. You lived through 2016. And so at this point, I want you to begin looking at it, because people often say to me, Barry, how do you know it's going to happen? Because I'm doing what I expect you to do. Look at 2016 and say, all right, what happened? What went wrong? How do we fix it? Okay. A big part of this, you saw it last night, was the media. I got to shut them up. How do I shut them up? I shut them up with money and lawsuits. So watch as that begins to happen. And then I got to make sure there's no money for all these people to do this crazy stuff. So let's turn off Doge. See, he's learning all this stuff from 2016. This wasn't just some revelation that he had. It's like, okay, here's what they did to me. We gotta have to go after these Five Eyes people who tried to do stuff with what's the guy's name? Christopher Steele. Okay, let's go after them. Make sure that those people can't do anything. How are we going to do it? We're going to hit you with tariffs. We're going to spank you with tariffs and bring you to your knees. Money? Money is a great equalizer. And so these countries that were like, okay, well, we'll help the Democrats do this and that. Now they're like, hey, man, I tried, but he's hitting us with 100% tariff? How the hell am I supposed to do that with my people? Sorry, you're on your own. So if you look at the weapons they used against him in 2016, it's pretty simple to see what are they going to do with 2020 so that none of this stuff is in their way. And of course, the next big thing is the judges. Get after these low-level judges. That's still coming. Guarantee you that's going to be coming. And the Supreme Court now is fighting back and giving him win after win after win. But at the same time, these judges are exposing themselves. The judges that just went after Alina Habba, yep, you're about to feel it. They're coming for you. Guarantee you. He went through all these lawsuits and he went through the criminal trials. He now knows all of your weapons. He now knows how you stopped me in 2016. So the thing is, people who are saying nothing's going to happen, you're not paying attention. Wake up. Wake up and look at what's going on. Some of you guys are probably saying, oh yeah, so he's suing all the media so they'll shut up. And Colbert is gone. He is going to be off the field. If you can forget all the other stuff, if you can take your biggest people, their opponents, off the field, that's even better. So Colbert, I guess it's next year, but watch, he'll be gone before then. The only reason it's next year is because his contract probably is still going. Watch CBS buy out his contract. You know what? Here's your $16 million. Just go away, okay? Here's your money. Bye. And the same thing's going to happen for some of these other flamethrowers. Watch. Rachel Maddow's going to make $20 million a year doing nothing. Lawrence O'Donnell, they're coming for you. One by one, all of these flamethrowers are going to be off the air. And then he'll be able to let people do their jobs without fear of being destroyed personally. Just imagine if Jeff Sessions could have done what he needed to do, if he had the gumption. Who knows what they threatened him with? Maybe he's got little boys in the closet. I don't know. Maybe he's got a gimp. Who knows? But the people in place right now, I think they savor the fight. I think they want the fight. I'm pretty sure Dan wants to fight. I'm pretty sure Kash Patel wants to fight. And I from what I've seen with Kash Bondi, with Pam Bondi down here, I'm pretty sure she wants to fight. I feel really good that Alina Habba wants to fight. And so when you've got fighters who are younger, they're not Bill Barr. I need my boat. I need the country club. Okay, so you got some young fighters now. And these people, you're not going to scare them off. The only people trying to scare off Pam Bondi are people on the right. That's the weirdest thing. Oh, you got to fire Bondi. Yeah, good luck. You have no idea. Oh, you're starting to get an idea. Oh, man. This is crazy. Let me look at some of your comments here. Q said to trust Sessions. Sessions was a rat. You guys are funny. 400 billion was missing during Cheney and stuff. Yeah. So that's what the thing. I'm pretty sure we are going to begin seeing some of this stuff happen because we have to. We have to see it in order for things to get fixed. And if you have any sort of game planning experience or looking even at life in general, you want to fix the things that cause you problems. You don't just come and do the same shit all over again because you're going to end up getting the same result. And it's funny, I'm going to segue into something here because President Trump, as you know, if you look at some of the pictures that he used to have from, like 4, 5, 6 years ago, he was heavier. And then he's losing weight. And then they just came out with this medical thing that said he had a heart issue. And it kind of got swept under the rug and not a lot of people talked about it. For some reason, this thing did not get discussed enough. And I have a feeling that some people are going to try and use it against him, and nobody explained it to you. Well, I have a cardiologist who actually explains the entirety of what President Trump is going through. Hey everybody, in light of what's been happening and all the news we found out about President Trump, I had to get a doctor on, somebody I could specifically speak to his condition so you guys, could understand what's going on. So today I've got Dr. Joel Kahn. He's a practicing cardiologist and clinical professor of medicine at Wayne State University School of Medicine. He's known as America's Healthy Heart Doctor. He has authored scores of publications in his field, including 6 books. He has regular appearances on Dr. Phil's show, Dr. Oz, and the Joe Rogan Experience, among others. All right, Dr. Kahn, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Really an honor.
So I think most of us know that heart disease is the #1 killer, and it's worse than other causes of death that get more attention, like the fentanyl and everything else. But I think now people are really, if they hadn't been, are paying attention. President Trump was diagnosed with something called chronic venous insufficiency. What is that?
Yeah, it's a very common condition. This is just great that this has become such a focus of public conversation, because anytime we think about our 60,000 miles of arteries and 60,000 miles of veins in our body, we're doing ourselves some good, because maybe we'll actually take some steps to protect our arteries and veins. So as everybody probably learned a long time ago in high school, the heart pumps 100,000 times a day, amazing muscle. Red blood throughout the body, full rich of oxygen and nutrition. And then way down in the tissues, from the brain to your toes, it picks up the garbage, the carbon dioxide and some other waste products. It turns to a purplish blue. I've seen purplish blue blood, thousands of times. And it has to make its way against gravity, unless you're standing on your head, which most of us don't do, or using an inversion table. It has to flow against gravity all the way back up to the right side of the heart to get pumped to the lungs and get full of oxygen. So it's an amazing cycle, billions and billions of times during your life. We don't think about it. But those veins are like heroes that we don't give credit to. The veins are thin-walled blood vessels that start at your toenails and got to go all the way back up to your heart. And then there's a system from your brain back down to your heart.
Wow.
And they have to transport that used dirty blood back to the heart, and particularly the ones below the heart. It's anti-gravity every day, 100,000 times a day. And there are, you might ask the question, how about if the blood moves up a little in the veins and you stand up? Isn't it going to fall back down to your feet? And you'd have, feet as big as pumpkins. And miraculously, we have these little valves, thin little pieces of collagen tissue. They open, they shut, they open, they shut. But they shut tight to prevent that reflux, that back movement. So you move the blood up a little, maybe you squeeze your calves, it moves up and it doesn't move back. Well, a lot of people, the veins become damaged with time. Age. We're going to age. Our president is 79 years old. He's an amazing example of vitality at 79. Vitality is a good word. But he's still 79. He's been standing on his feet for 79 years. He's been golfing, standing for 79 years. We all know he carries a little extra weight around the middle, although he appears to have lost some weight in the last 4 years, to his credit, maybe just the last 6 months. But that extra weight makes it a little harder to get up. Salt in your diet. We've seen him occasionally, too often, eating fast food. I haven't seen that lately. I wonder if he's gone through a little health reform with Bobby Kennedy hanging around. I hope so. But anyways, I don't, but the salt in the diet from processed food is no friend. So he has a challenge, like millions of people over age 70, getting that blue blood back up against gravity. And if it can't get up efficiently, you get swelling. You might get little discoloration on your calves or ankles, venous stasis. There's a more serious end stage called venous stasis ulcers. I rarely ever see those. I've been practicing for 36 years. But the little modeling of the skin, the swelling. I mean, really, if most of us at the end of the day reach down, put our fingers on our ankle and pressed for about 30 seconds, you'll probably see a little indentation. I mean, if you have a desk job and you're sitting, you'll see it. I use a standing desk a lot. So I'm standing 5, 6, 7 hours a day. It's just good on the back, good on the body. But I will get, at age 66, an indentation in my ankles at the end of the day, even though it's a very low salt diet. So it's common that we develop this. There's a much more serious venous problem when you get blood clots. So it does not have blood clots.
So is what he has, I think, what's the term that you talk about? Is that called dippling, when you push in and you get the indentation? Is there some sort of measure that it needs to respond or come back to normal in a certain period of time?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. And dimpling is a perfectly good word. If a patient told me that they were having that, I'd understand. There's a medical term, edema, E-D-E-M-A, not a very common word in the public, but it's a little bit more specific of a term. And we grossly judge it 1 + 2 + 3 + 4 +. God knows we need a better system, but that's the traditional system that a doctor might record in their office note or hospital note. 4 + being really, big pumpkin-like ankles, and 1 + being what a lot of us have at the end of the day. And if you notice it, by morning, I bet you it's gone, because just by lying down makes it easier for that blue blood to get back, even if you have a pillow or two behind you. So the little bit of ankle swelling a lot of us get from chronic venous insufficiency. The valves are no longer working well. It's usually gone in the morning, and it generally doesn't require a lot of attention. But they did an amazing workup, an amazing evaluation. In fact, you could take the letter from the White House physician, I think his name is Dr. Benedetto, and use it as like a medical school lecture, and I probably will do that, because what they did to check him out, and everybody should be very reassured, they checked the president out, and it was a great result. He has a very benign, innocent problem, and they may prescribe some stockings or not for him. They may advise him to watch his salt intake, but he doesn't have a condition that's going to limit him for the next 3.5 years or much longer, actually.
Right. So what are the I guess that is the symptoms, the swelling in the leg? Is that the only thing people at home would look for on themselves, is swelling of the leg? Is it the edema? Is edema swelling of the legs, or is that something different?
Edema is a medical term for swelling of the legs, usually more just because of gravity, ankles, but it can go to your mid-calf, and that's something we would incorporate in a note, in a progress note in a hospital or in an office, edema up to the mid-calf. If you have swelling all the way to your knees or your thighs, which can happen with serious conditions like advanced kidney disease or advanced heart disease, it's obviously going to be a more serious situation. What people listening need to know, because we never talk about veins, we talk about arteries. Arteries are where heart attacks occur. Arteries are generally where strokes occur. Clots in the red blood system that either go to the brain and cause a stroke or go to the heart arteries, or if there are possibility they involve the legs. Veins don't get a lot of attention, but there is an acute problem. I had a patient in the last 2 weeks, came back from a long trip from Europe, and about 10 days later called me and said, my right leg is swollen and painful, and I'm going to take some Motrin. And I said, no, you're not. You're going to the emergency room, because I don't have the equipment in my office, and you need a blood test for clotting, which they did run on President Trump, and it came out normal, but it was not normal on my patient. And you need an ultrasound of your leg, and lo and behold, he had a new fresh clot in the veins of his leg. So if somebody wakes up and they have intense pain, not the nighttime cramp that we all can get, and we pretty much know you can get that, leg cramps, but something acute, particularly in the calf, particularly if you injured your leg, if you had recent surgery, if you've been lying around, or you had a long flight or long car trip, you want to get checked for an acute blood clot, because that could ultimately be fatal. Now, this patient is on blood thinners, and where we check them in a few weeks and reassess if those have dissolved the clot. And next time he travels 17 hours by plane, I'll probably put him on a blood thinner as a preventive, but generally people don't need to do that for routine travel.
That actually happened to me, and it was terrifying. I was walking out of my office, and I stepped off the curb, and I felt my calf just singe up. And, I've had calf pulls before from playing ball and stuff, but this one, it just didn't go away. And so I went to the orthopedic, and he went through, and he's like, I got to send you in for an ultrasound right now. And I'm like, why? He goes, I got to make sure it's not a blood clot. And they did exactly what you just said. Mine happened to be extremely painful. Is what President Trump going through painful?
No, there's nothing acute. There's nothing inflamed. The blood work they did that they reported in the White House letter pretty much clarified that and removed any mystery. There was a photo that's been circulating when he was on stage at the recent soccer event. I think it's called FIFA. I'm not the world's biggest soccer fan. Some people noticed when he sat down, his ankles looked like my grandmother's, or my mother's. My grandmother of blessed memory, my mother at a very advanced age of good health. But, we can accumulate that. And people commented, even though he was wearing shoes and socks and a suit, he looked like he had fat ankles. Go look at Melania. She does not have fat ankles, but the president looked like he had fat ankles. And apparently it was not just discussed on the internet. He had a concern enough to reach out to his medical team, and they did the ultrasound, they did blood work looking for blood clots, looking for thyroid problems if you suddenly developed a low thyroid condition. But most importantly, they look for something called congestive heart failure. And hopefully listeners have heard that term. We call it in my field CHF, congestive heart failure. A variety of conditions, largely of the heart, that lead the heart not to be able to pump efficiently 100,000 times a day. And if the blood basically backs up, one of the symptoms of congestive heart failure, which can be a rather benign condition all the way to a ultimately fatal condition. So it's very important not to ignore the possibility. But they did that evaluation. The blood can back up in congestive heart failure and cause that swelling, that edema, that fat ankle syndrome, usually painlessly, sometimes with shortness of breath, sometimes challenge to lie flat at night. So when I ask a patient about swollen ankles, I'm going to ask them, do you sleep on 1 pillow, 2 pillows, 3 pillows? Also, has your weight gone up? Have you gained 8 pounds over the weekend that you can't explain by, pretzels and beer or something? So they did an echocardiogram. Echocardiogram is also known as an ultrasound. So anybody who's ever had an ultrasound of their gallbladder, or a woman's had an ultrasound, it's the same technique, but we cardiologists are fancy, so we call it an echocardiogram. And that's very important. And they reported that his was completely normal, which at age 79 is wonderful news. I mean, he's actually taken pretty darn good care of himself, lifelong non-smoker, non-drinker, non-drug user. If he's got a drug, it might be junky food, but so does 70, 80% of America, so he's just one of us. But they did the blood work, they did the ultrasound of the legs, no clot. They said they actually did an ultrasound of the arteries. That's different in the legs. That's the red blood going down. And most people have, by 79, some easily identified blockage or narrowing. The report said he had good arteries to his legs too, so he'll be able to climb that 8th green to the putting green quite easily with his leg arteries being clean. Or whatever.
As a president, we have no idea what kind of stress he must incur on a daily basis. Can stress cause anything? Because you ever notice, like when you see a president who goes in office, and then at the end of the 4 year, their hairs are gray because I can't imagine what they have to deal with on a daily basis. How does stress contribute to anything?
Yeah, and I agree with you. When you watch the presidents, and I actually think it's quite remarkable that President Trump isn't following that. I think he looks healthier now than he did during his first term.
Right.
I think he's enjoying himself more than he did during his first term. Maybe he's having a bit of a challenging week right now, but overall. But I actually agree with you. Stress can be a big factor. Some of it is, we got a lot going on. Our schedule's full. We got tough decisions. We got some, things we can't fix immediately. Russia, Ukraine, can't fix that immediately. We sleep poorly, and sleep poorly ages you. Some of us get stressed and we grab for the guac and the chips and the nacho cheese, and we eat more salt in an hour than we should be eating in a week. So that's one aspect of stress. We skip the gym. The other is stress raises our blood pressure. And our arteries, remember, 60,000 miles of arteries, 60,000 miles of veins. They're under attack. Your arteries are under attack. My arteries are under attack. President Trump. They're under attack by that blood pressure. Just 140 over 90 as opposed to 110 over 70. And actually, President Trump tends to run a very low normal blood pressure. It's a good thing. People call me all the time, Doc, my blood pressure is 105 over 65. What do? I say, celebrate. That's normal. And number one, thank you for checking your blood pressure at home. And number two, celebrate is normal. So stress can raise blood pressure. Stress raises this hormone we've all heard of called cortisol.
Right.
Cortisol will raise your blood sugar. We need blood sugar to fuel our body, but too much. It's always the too much blood sugar.
So between the stress and pressure of his job, which he can't do anything about, it's going to be there every day he wakes up. In addition, with the number of speeches and events that he does, he's always on his feet. So I read something and it kind of confused me. At one point it said standing can contribute to his condition, and at the same time sitting too much can contribute to your condition, from what I read. Is that true? And then what's he supposed to do? Start doing his speeches sitting down? Or, I mean, he'll talk for an hour.
Not everything in life has what might be called a sweet spot, like they talk about on a tennis racket, that perfect spot. But activity has, there's no sweet spot for smoking. It's just none, although it is, of course, graded the more danger. But we don't encourage 1 cigarette a day. We encourage, of course, 0. But when it comes to activity, one of the worst habits, probably the worst habit nowadays, is the horribly interrupted short sleep that most Americans are getting. And I worry about President Trump and his sleep, although there are some people that thrive on 5-6 hours a day. We always advise 7 to 9 hours a day if possible. But there's a sweet spot for that standing and sitting. The worst situation, think about a truck driver, going cross country that might get out of their truck, once or twice to stop and get something to drink or use a restroom. But they're sitting and they're sitting. It just changes our metabolism for the worse. On the other hand, again, I'm talking to you right now on a standing desk. The audience can't tell that, but I'm not sitting right now. I mean, I stand 6-7 hours a day. I enjoy it. It's a good example for the patients. I just have a simple standing desk.
Yeah.
It makes me look a little powerful looking down on them. Many of my patients do stand in the office. They like that. When I lecture to the public, I encourage them, stand up for the next 30 minutes. It's good for your health. So there's a sweet spot. There's actually some downside to being up all the time. And, very few of us, a mail carrier might be up all the time. Somebody working in a factory where they're moving around all day. Most of us have a mixture. If you've got a sitting job or you got a sitting interview like you do, try every 30, 45 minutes, get up for a couple minutes, do a few jumping jacks, reach down, touch your toes, do a few squats. We call these exercise snacks. Then you go sit down and do your work. But you could set a timer. There are some phone apps, computer apps. So it is a mixture. He stands a lot. Some of his job is sitting for prolonged periods. I'd rather he get up and move around more than sit.
Now, he's obviously, Air Force One is probably, most of us will never fly in that type of comfort, but it's still an airplane. How would that contribute to it, especially when he's going over to Israel and, all these countries that take 10 and 12 hours to fly?
Yeah. Well, he has an opportunity to move around a bit more than most of us do. You're right. If the listener is going to take a long flight, it is good to get up and move around. Of course, if it's an overnight sleep flight, go ahead and enjoy your sleep. Try and get back to normal as quick as possible. But otherwise, move around, get up. Some people take a baby aspirin before a long flight. We do know President Trump is on a daily baby aspirin, which actually, given his complete cardiovascular history, is appropriate. He's had a heart scan called a heart calcium CT scan, my favorite test in the world. I wish everybody gets one. If Barry, you haven't had one, talk to me after this recording. We'll make sure you get one. He's had one. He has a little bit of silent heart artery disease, which at age 79 is not of a great concern, but it's part of his medical history. So he's on an aspirin a day. That's a decent thing for a flight. But what does he do in Air Force One? I mean, he is at some risk. And the air is a little thinner, of course, pressurized cabin. People with advanced lung disease have to be a bit careful on airplanes because their oxygen level can become an issue, just like if they were at elevation at a mountain in Colorado. But for most of us, it's not too much of a concern. For him, that wouldn't be too much of a concern. It's a little short stress on the system. He's more than able to handle it. But the key teaching point, as a cardiologist who loves to teach, is our arteries and our veins are under attack by so many different things. By blood pressure, by our diet, by air pollution, by water quality, by plastics, microplastics. You can't help but hear about these things. Maybe you smoke, maybe some of the family smokes, maybe you're in a smoky room, stress, we don't get enough sunshine, all kinds of factors. Sunshine's good for the heart. It's not the only thing good for that. So we need to protect our arteries and we need to protect our veins. And I teach healthy lifestyle, but you can add to a healthy lifestyle some intelligent supplements or, people need medication, they need medication. I'm more favorable to the supplement approach because it's sort of natural. Get it in you.
Before I jump into something with you, you talked about the bruise on his hand, and people were saying that the aspirin may have caused that. Well, my grandfather died of a heart attack, my father died of a heart attack, and my doctor said, "Listen, here, big guy, we're going to put you on a regimen." I haven't had any bruising whatsoever, so I'm trying to understand how that would have caused any bruising.
Yeah, the doctor, again, I think it's Dr. Benedetto, offered the idea that he has been on a daily aspirin for a number of years. Aspirin, of course, people use it for pain, but it's predominantly used as a very gentle, mild blood thinner. You are a little more prone to bruising if you're on a baby aspirin a day. Not everybody in America needs a baby aspirin a day. Those that have been tested, like President Trump, he had a heart artery calcium scan, a $100 CT scan, and he was appropriately placed in a baby aspirin. So, and the other aspect the doctor talked about was he's in the public all the time. One, he's sort of bumping into crowds. Two, he's shaking hundreds of hands a day because he's such a personable president and approachable president. So they combine that. Just seeing patients in my clinic who are on a variety of blood thinners, aspirin is the mildest, all the way, of course, to prescription drugs for more serious conditions. Skin bruising is a major observation. It's not very serious. Our skin ages, our skin gets thinner as we age, to be specific. You can't completely avoid that. A little tip for everybody listening, if you want nice skin, age 66 here, I don't do any Botox or anything, and I'm not bragging, a lot of vitamin C. Get a lot of vitamin C in your diet. Of course, oranges, limes, citrus, big green leafy salads.
Wow. So what else causes... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, that's fine. That's how you keep a little thicker skin as we age.
So what else causes problems with heart health? Besides the microplastics and, segueing from Trump, what else out there can cause these heart problems?
Well, back in the 60s and 70s, research our government funded called the Framingham Study said there were the big five. The big five are, let's get my hand there, do you smoke? Do you have high blood pressure? Do you have high cholesterol? Do you have a family history of early heart attack or stroke? And do you have a high blood sugar? Could call that pre-diabetes or actual diabetes, the big five. And that's what most doctors will check for in a history or by checking simple, easy blood work. There's easily 20 other major factors. I just mentioned some that there isn't a blood test for: air pollution, water quality, food quality. You just got to talk to your patient about breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, addictions. There's a lot of food addiction to cheese and salt, and some people it's sugar addiction. And there's advanced blood tests you can do, and it looks like President Trump had a lot of these advanced blood tests. So the big five, don't ignore. In fact, if somebody wants to really go a little deeper, the American Heart Association has a website called Life's Essential 8. They took those big five, they added a few more, like blood tests and how many hours a day do you sleep. That was the new one. So if somebody wants to learn a little more, the public education organization, American Heart Association, Life's Essential 8. But we really... None of us, with all the knowledge I have after decades of being a cardiologist, we're all exposed to damage to our arteries and damage to our veins. And there are strategies to build up our cardiovascular system. Of course, eating healthy, exercise, good sleep, avoiding smoking, manage your weight, check your blood pressure, maybe get this.
Let me interrupt you for a second. What kind of exercises? Because I heard that resistance training can, which is basically weightlifting, that can help your heart health.
Yeah, we've always known the cardio, not always. It became popular in the 1960s. Dr. Ken Cooper in Dallas wrote a book, Aerobics, and everybody started jogging and running and biking and walking, and those are all great things, whatever you do. But it's been the last decade, we've got pretty good data that for your long-term health, a little bit or more of strength training is a good idea. There's a few patients that have to avoid it, people with very unstable blood pressure, unstable diabetes, enlarged arteries called aneurysms. They should avoid it. But for most of us, it's a mixture. A few days a week of cardio, a few days a week of strength training. It's good also to be flexible. You know, can you balance on one foot? Can you touch your toes? It's amazing data that the more flexible your spine is, the longer you might live with better arteries. So whether you want to call that yoga or Tai Chi or just stretching, a little bit every day is my recommendation. You don't necessarily have to spend 90 minutes at the gym, every day. It's impractical for most of us.
I can't tell you how much I go to a place called Stretch Zone. No commercial here. But it's a place I go, and I've been going for a year now, and I feel like I've taken years off of my life. Added years to my life because I'm so much more flexible now, and after I'm done, I can actually feel the blood flowing. Because the first time I went, I'm like, wait, why am I a little bit dizzy? And he's like, because you're getting blood flowing all over the place right now. I'm like, oh, okay, it felt good. So give me some background. I understand you've worked with Kim from Brightcore, and you guys are working together now. How did you get in touch with her, and what are you guys doing with Brightcore?
Yeah, well, I sort of have both a reputation and a practice as what you might want to call a natural cardiologist. I mean, I'll write a prescription for you, and there clearly are people who have to have a pharmaceutical agent. I don't completely despise the pharmaceutical industry, but we all know there's a lot that could be said about, secrets and dangers and fines that they've had to pay. There's problems with the pharmaceutical industry. But I'd much rather teach you something about your nutrition or your fitness or a supplement, a vitamin. We tend to call them supplements. They supplement the rest of your healthy lifestyle. And I've been a student of those for many decades. And I was looking particularly for a new brand, a new line of supplements. And I just happened to see on a YouTube, they're down at the bottom, like I think we're going to do right here today, very happily. A company that seemed to be promoting very healthy supplements. And I went to the web and had not previously encountered Brightcore Nutrition, my Brightcore Nutrition. And I reached out to them, actually. I reached out via their website and their contact and said, look, I'm a reasonably well-known, well-educated physician. I'd like to sample your products and maybe we can do some work together because God knows so many people are missing, particularly heart and gut friendly. But let's talk about heart today, blood vessels today, veins and arteries. People need help. People need like a bulletproof vest for their arteries and their veins. And I want to supplement the healthy diet and supplement the healthy lifestyle. And sure enough, they were ahead of me. They already had products that impressed me greatly. Those that I actually take every day. And I'm pretty picky what I put in my body because there's hundreds of vitamin companies, supplement companies. I really, really like, what they're doing and their tradition. And I didn't know Kim Bright's tremendous history, but he really is a pioneer in the field and great to be associated with somebody that well known.
Now, I had been using kimchi, and she came out with another product, and it was the Vitality. Is that something that you recommend, and what's in it, and what can it do for you?
Yeah, so it says right on it, I happen to have my bottle right here, Vitality Cardiovascular Support. Cardiovascular, fancy word for heart, veins, and arteries, just what we're talking about with President Trump. And they put together 7 ingredients, things that people should have in their daily intake. Grapeseed extract, unbelievable support for arteries and veins. CoQ10, I won't go through all 7, but let me give a shout out for a vitamin called coenzyme Q10 or CoQ10, something we make naturally, but when you get older than 40, Barry, you're not going to be making as much as when you were younger. I'm 66. I'm not making as much as I used to. If you're taking a statin prescription cholesterol medicine, you pretty much stop producing coenzyme Q10 in your body. And you don't want that to happen. You don't want to be deficient in coenzyme Q10. You don't want to have no exposure to resveratrol or grapeseed extract. So they put together 7 ingredients in one supplement called Vitality. They have others for gut and others for other conditions. This is a cardiovascular heart support vitamin. We've talked about how our arteries are under attack. You can't help it. You can minimize it with a lifestyle, but your arteries are under attack. humans are about the only species on the planet that have heart attacks. So we have to do special things. When's the last time you heard about a chimpanzee or a dog having a heart attack? It's just not part of their nature. It's part of our nature. And we need protection for our veins. And that's actually also possible through intelligent supplements. The components of vitality, the 7 proven scientific portions that are in vitality that support your cardiovascular health. And, it's just a shield. It's a shield. It's a seatbelt on your health. Something you can do starting today to increase the odds. You're going to have healthy arteries, healthy veins. You said it. When you stretch, you got blood flow, you got oxygen, you felt better. We don't get enough attention at how important blood flow is through the body. From literally your brain, your toes, your kidneys, sexual organs, heart. We have to have blood flow. So vitality just supports great blood flow, great arteries, great veins through the body. If we can get a bottle to President Trump, if you know him well enough, gift him a bottle of vitality.
How soon after being on a regimen of vitality would you expect to see any measurable results?
Yeah, I think if you did blood work, it would take 2-3 weeks. Usually with a supplement, we don't quickly do blood work. We just offer it to a patient for support. Probably things like what's called coenzyme Q10. People will experience more energy. Coenzyme Q10 is the ultimate energy vitamin. It literally is involved, CoQ10, a component, a very important part of the vitality vitamin by My Brightcore Nutrition. Coenzyme Q10 is involved in every second of our life when we make energy, just to manage our body, let alone trying to exercise and be active. So I think people could anticipate having a spring in their step within 7 or 10 days. There is a blood test for this coenzyme Q10. I order it at many of my patients. It's very low on many people that walk at my clinic. And I put them on vitality, and I can recheck it and actually show them, you're now, marinating those arteries and veins. You're helping your cardiovascular system with vitality. And we can see the blood test go up, but they usually tell me first, I just feel better. They might notice it supports healthy blood pressure. I am not going to claim to you it's a blood pressure medicine. It's a supplement. But they might notice that. And there's something they call vitamin K2. And we've had some really good data about vitamin K2 and artery health. A little bit harder of a vitamin to get through food. But some people with leg cramps will notice that leg cramps go down with a vitamin combo like Vitality offers.
Great. So people watching today, the Fanfare family, are sitting here watching this video. Do you guys, has Kim authorized you to come up with a special offer for these viewers today?
Yeah, it's actually, I think it's crazy good. And I know a lot about other supplement companies. So number one, let me say it right. The website, if people want to go over, is mybrightcore.com. But because of your big audience, Barry, they've set up a special link, which is mybrightcore.com/iHeartBarry, iHeart BARRY, or you can just go to their website, and when they ask for that discount code, you put in BARRY Barry, and there's 25% off the prices just by simply putting in BARRY Barry in the discount code, or you can go straight to the URL, mybrightcore.com/iHeartBarry. But what I think is really amazing about this company, and you won't get me answering the phone, but they like customers to call. And in today's day, you can't find a company that gives you a phone number. And the deal is, if you call and make an order for Vitality, but you might want to check out their website and order more than just Vitality. Like you said, they make a great gut product. You talked about called Kimchi One. But if you call them, I'm going to shout the number out. Maybe you'll put it at the bottom. You get not 25% off, you get 50% off. And they send you a bottle of vitamin D just as a gift. You're not going to pay for it. So you probably want to call. You also get free shipping if you call. They like people to call. It's crazy. And that's 888-418-6738. Of course, tell them you watch the Barry Cunningham Show. And instead of 25% off, it's 50% off. It's really, I beg companies to buy 50% off to use products in my clinic. And here they're giving it to the public, which I think is just incredible. So 888-418-6738. Talk to their operators and tell them you want the 50% off Barry Cunningham special. Vitality.
Well, Dr. Khan, thank you so much. You mentioned something, and I'll keep it in the show. You were talking about a test that you would advise anybody to take in regards to scanning your heart or whatever. What was that test?
Yeah, I'm kind of glad you circled back to that, and you're a good listener. Just real quick, everybody's heard of colonoscopy, a mammogram, a prostate check. Where's the heart test? Where's the heart check? And it turns out there's been one for over 30 years. You ask your doctor for a prescription for a heart calcium CT scan. And there's no injection, there's no IV, there's no pain, there's no exercise, a 5-second CT scan. And you get a number. If the number's 0, you have a little happy party. You keep taking your vitality so you stay a 0. But if that number comes back over 0, and it can go into the thousands, you've identified silent heart artery disease. President Trump has had this test at least 2 or 3 times.
Wow.
All presidential candidates have to have it. But it's not thousands of dollars, about $100 test at your local hospital. But
really,
you really may need to press on your primary care doc. I want that heart screening test called a coronary artery calcium scan. And if it's not normal, be sure you're taking vitality.
Right. All right. Well, Doc, thank you very much for taking this much time out of your day. I never thought I'd be able to get a cardiologist. I can't get a cardiologist that I pay to sit down for 37 minutes. So thank you very, very much today.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, everybody. That was Dr. Joel Kahn. Spoke a lot about everything that's going on with President Trump. And in addition to that, gave us a lot of advice on what we can do to help with our heart health. All right, so one of the things that he talked about, because I sit down here and I'm here for like 3 hours at a time. Look what I got. I sit here and do this when something's on record. You know, you guys think, what's Barry do when he's showing a recording or when President Trump is speaking? Well, I know I got to get some exercise in because sitting for 2.5 or 3 hours isn't the best thing. So I'm working on the gun show. The gun show is coming up down here in Fort Lauderdale. Ashley and the grandkids are going to want to go to the beach, so got to make sure the gun show is working. And so I got this band here. It helps me do curls, and then I can do shrugs while I'm doing this. See, I'm doing stuff behind the scenes, so you guys are seeing this svelte figure begin to come out because I want to be here. I want to enjoy what President Trump is providing for us. I can do, let me make sure I got the room here. I can do my lat raises too. My shoulder raises. Don't waste the time, man. Get the exercise in. Of course, I get up and walk around as well, but man, you can do all kinds of things right while you're sitting at a desk. And this is a 25-pound test band. So, see, you guys want to know what goes on behind the scenes? Well, mainly working on the gun show. Got to have the gun show. Just keep working on this during different things. So, just showing you a little behind the scenes there. Trying to keep myself. That's why I do so many things with health, is because I see it's working for me. I feel so good. I not a sponsor, but I go to Stretch Zone. Stretch Zone, they end up bending me around like I'm Gumby. First time I went in, the guy started bending me around like, hey, it's not, that hurts. But then now, after being for a year, man, it's amazing. So some people get mad that I, do some information and then tie it up with a sponsor inclusion at the end, but I really mean it. I actually do this stuff, and I had weight to lose, but I'm 64, and I plan on being here. I plan on being here for as long as I can until they turn me off, and so I'm doing just that. I'm like, hey man, my arms feel like they used to feel in college. Not as big, not taking the roids anymore, but I'm feeling more fit. Robin and I are looking at buying an investment house in Miramar. Got to go down and see it this week. And, we're talking about doing all these different things, getting the real estate business back going. More business, more business, more business. And I want to do it so I can spend time with her and spend time with the grandkids. So I encourage you guys, as different things that we're talking about that are partners with the show. They're not just ads. It's the entirety of what I'm trying to do is tie in a lifestyle to this show. And obviously the scare we had when people are talking about President Trump, and oh my gosh, he's got something wrong. Does he have blood clots? And so I wanted to get a cardiologist on to explain it. So that's where that is. All right. So I want you to be healthy. I can't force you. I'm not sitting next to you, but if I can try and lead by example, if you see me starting getting a little bit more slender and more muscular, the gun show, I'm going to have to get like a shorter shirt so you can see the guns. Got to show the guns. Yeah, especially down here at the beach. Want the guns. I just remember that back in college. Hey, what time's the gun show? I didn't have to worry about that because with all the chemicals I was using, I had the large gun show. I had the bazookas. But now, as I've begun the decline in age, I don't want that to help cause a decline in activity. Love going to the pool, love going to the beach, and so it's not an infomercial. It's info that's sponsored by one of my partners. And when I read my ads and stuff, it's not stuff that I just want to push on you. It's stuff that I'm actually taking. Where do I have? I mean, I've got a pharmacy sitting right next to me here, and all the stuff that I'm taking, and all this stuff that Robin pushes me because she wants me to be healthy. I want you to be healthy. Yeah, we all did stupid stuff. We drank. I never smoked. Never once did I smoke. Not even a cigarette. But I ate crappy because it didn't matter because I was playing football, so I could eat whatever I wanted. Didn't get porky because I was working out so much. But then I'm like, hey, I'm not bench pressing 585 pounds anymore. I'm not squatting 900 pounds. So it's a different lifestyle. And by the way, if you've never sat for a living, I've learned so much about sitting. He's talked about edema and stuff in your legs and everything. Hey man, you got to get up. I even have a rope over there where I can actually do some jump roping in between if something's playing. So I love it when President Trump is talking. Like, okay, let me hit the button. How long is this guy going to be talking for? Okay, so I got 20 minutes to start doing some jumping jacks, touching my toes, doing some different things. So it's not just sitting here like a zombie because I want to be around. Sorry, Barry, I don't gamble. You do know gambling is a sin, right? The game of kings is not gambling. At least that's what I tell myself. The game of kings is strategy. Poker, baby. Poker. Everybody, it's the soy that's been added in our food that is changing our bodies. Yeah, soy and other kind of crap. One of the things, I'm pretty proud of you, Barry. Keep up the great workouts. Yeah, got to keep doing it, man. One of the things that Kim actually taught me, Kim Bright is the CEO of Brightcore. It's because if you listen, you will learn things. And one of the things that she taught me was shop on the outside of the store. Don't go up the aisles. There ain't nothing there for you but sickness. Shop on the outside. And I'm like, And then Robin started doing it. I'm like, that's our groceries? Yep, that's it. Where's my cookies? Well, then I found some, sugar-free cookies. No chips? But now I'm used to it. Now I'm used to like grabbing a carrot and just dipping it and like, okay, that's good. 2 Live says she loves jumping rope. How about hula hooping? No, I haven't done that. That's kind of chicky. But I would, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, poker is a great game. All right, so as mentioned here, let's go back to some news before we get out of here, because this is starting to get good. Where is that? Okay, first thing I wanted to show you is this. President Trump, or rather the White House, posted this. They came after the wrong man. I was the hunted, now I'm the hunter. So it's obvious that President Trump is serious. He's not taking this stuff lying down. So, as the woman mentioned, Barack Obama has been forced to come out with a statement. Barack Obama's office has just released a statement on his the Russia collusion hoax. Obama is terrified, and this is what he wrote. Out of respect for the office of the presidency, our office does not normally dignify the constant nonsense and misinformation flowing out of this White House. Okay. With a response. But these claims are outrageous enough to merit one. These bizarre allegations are ridiculous and a weak attempt at distraction. Lawyer up, bud. Oh, no, okay. That was Nick saying lawyer up, bud. So let me tell you what this is. In closing, let me tell you exactly what just happened. Now you will hear the media talk about it. Now you're going to see it on CNN. I can't wait to clip some shows for tonight. Now you're going to hear them talk about it on MSNBC. Now they've got the green light. Their boss, their messiah, has told them, hey, I didn't do nothing. I don't usually play these stupid games, but since you did it, I just want to let you know, here, it's ridiculous and a weak attempt. Okay, now you're going to hear that. Now he has told them what to say. Obama has spoken. It is now time for them to attack Trump. And I'm telling you right now, I'm telling you, this is what you're going to see. They didn't want to talk about it. Now Barack has come out and told them, yeah, it ain't true. Yeah, don't worry about it. And so they're going to hear him talk about it. They were waiting for the response. I guarantee you, this is what you're going to see moving forward. He had to respond. That's the key. He had to respond. Now that did he respond or his office? His office said that. Let me see if it's even on his official page. Hold on, let me see here. Nope. He didn't put it on his page. By the way, I wanted to show you guys something. Because now, it's trending on Twitter. It's the #1 trend on Twitter. Barack Obama has now responded. But I want to show you something. And I want to show you this because there's probably not a lot of people that you know are going to show this to you. So let me show you this. Show you how deep I was in this stuff. You ready? Some of you guys are going to go, oh, yeah. This is when I knew I was in trouble. All right, so not trouble, but I knew that things were kind of weird in terms of me being in politics and talking about politics. This is former President Barack Obama, and this is his X profile. Used to be his Twitter profile, right? And I'm going to move this quick because I don't want you to see this yet. But he has 130 million followers, and he only follows 510,000 people. Well, you can check your buddies, but he, or whoever runs his account, I'm not stupid enough to think it was he personally, but the Barack Obama account, since he was president, has been following me. What does that mean? I don't know, but I showed up on a radar enough for the Barack Obama brand to follow me. That's kind of wild, I thought. And then down here it shows you, if I wanted to check it myself, it shows you 998 others that I follow. It shows in here. And these are people that follow Obama, but not necessarily he follows them. Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't see that. Whatever. But anyway, I've been knee deep in this for quite some time. Back into beforehand when they were kicking people off of X and telling us we couldn't be on it. But there it is. Yeah, Barry, you nailed it. You said it before I could. Yep. You'll see the media. The media will, I don't want to block him, Pee-wee. Nope, do not want to block him because, like President Trump said, I got to clip that. You got to watch your enemy. You got to watch your game film of your opponent. You want to know what they're saying. So I make sure better than being followed by Hillary. I never checked that. Maybe, maybe. Wow. Oh man, that's wrong, Sean. That's really wrong. Barack might think Barry is handsome. Why'd you have to go there, bro? Why did you have to go there? Oh yeah, I got to make sure I'm not on Hillary's watch list too. Ooh. Wow, that's crazy. That's actually crazy. Oh man, y'all see now you gotta stop this. Don't bend over. You guys are bad. You guys are so bad. Don't go swimming at the Obamas. Yeah. Obama said, we got one of them black conservatives here. Let me watch and see what this Barry guy has to say. Well, what I find interesting, and you'll see it if it happens, is that here we are in 2025 and they have not unfollowed me. Which means that, whoever's running the account hasn't said, get lost now. Nope, they're still looking. Kind of worried about it, but we shall see how that turns out. So, in any event, let me do the super chats, because I've showed people that before, and they're like, "Hey man, you need to do something. You need to block him or something." And I'm like, "No, I don't want to cause a scene, because if anyone who's monitoring it back then, I was like, well, if they know that you're doing stuff," BLS said, "Watch out for Big Mike." Oh man, y'all cold. I'm seriously. Ooh, that's funny. Kind of scary. I'm gonna have to check the Hillary account and see if I made it onto her list as well. All right, so I'm gonna go at 7:30 tonight, and let me just say this now. When we do the jump over, 7:30 to 8:25, I'll do regular news, and then at 8:30 when we jump over to Rumble, I'm gonna do a little tribute to the Ozzy. And so if you don't like Ozzy music, then maybe don't tune in until 8:45, because I'll be the first to admit, didn't like what he showed himself to be to a lot of people, but I love the music. There is still to this day not many guitar solos that top what Randy Rhoads did on Crazy Train. Crazy guitar solo, absolutely love it. So we'll have to dig into that, and then of course we'll close with "I'm Coming Home," because he has gone home. And so I'm just telling you, I don't want to see a bunch of crap in the chat about, he's playing Ozzy Osbourne. Yes, telling you up front, we're going to play some Ozzy Osbourne. All right? And the guy, for whatever he was, touched millions, many people here in the chat as well. All right, let's move on from that, can we? So we're not belaboring that point, so people are okay. All righty. Gray Man, hey, somebody was asking about you the other day, bro. Get your house in order, Patriots. If Obama gets prosecuted, the left will go crazy and things will get heated very quickly. I don't know if you've seen what Maxine Waters has said. Maxine Waters had come out and said, if you touch Obama, you got to go through me, which isn't that hard, Maxine? Especially if you're training and you got the guns working, and we'll go through you like no problem whatsoever. Robin Hudler. Oh, am I at the bottom or top? Okay. Robin Hudler. Obama didn't leave Washington after leaving the White House. He had to stay close to his co-conspirators. Del Hole. I want to see Matt Gaetz get involved as a special prosecutor. Yeah, I could see him too. But I'd love to see Alina Habba. Yeah, that would be awesome to me. Captain Danny, it's my birthday today, and Trump putting the bullseye on Obama is the best gift I've ever gotten. Fanfare is a close second. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Okay, DLS, yes. If we'll do a jump over and we'll play some Ozzy, it would mean a lot. Yep, okay, we'll get you there. Todd Doyle, Colbert was #1 on the worst team, 999 nationwide. Colbert sucks. Mrs. D, treason is the only crime in the Constitution. I did not know that. Obama equals Otto Penn in the mass immigration problem. Definitely the mass immigration problem came from him. Donna Upton, thank you. I like how YouTube is doing those little crown things now. That's pretty. I have nothing to do with that. That just shows up. So that's just something that they're doing, not me. Del Hole, baby steps, can't prosecute those with pardons. Depends on what the pardon is worded. If it's one of those like open-ended pardon, forever, everything you ever do the rest of your life, or is it just for this? Because if it's just for this, then it doesn't cover the other stuff. Brad Crane, so much winning, yes. Monique, Barry, I'm subscribed to the Brian Craig show. He's MAGA and lives in Florida. I commented on his video that I'd love to see him as a guest. He replied and said that would be awesome. Well, hopefully, it's starting to rain. Hopefully Ashley can get in touch with him. Brian Craig, where's my pen? I don't know where my pen is. Oh, yeah, Brian Craig. All right. Fume Drummer, thanks for the interview with Dr. Khan. Thank you. Hope you got something out of that. By the way, let me tell you a quick story about Dr. Khan. I get him on. I understand he's a cardiologist with Wayne State University up in Michigan. And I'm talking to him, and he mentioned that test. And I'm like, I'd like to take that test. And he goes, I'll mail you a book, and I'd like to write you a script. I'm like, sure. And I start giving him the address. He goes, you in Boca? I'm like, yeah. He goes, my winter office is in Boca. He goes, I come down there. I'm like, okay, you'll be my cardiologist. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Small world. Brian Newland, I'm in concert with my MP3 player. Sure, and hear headphones, Essential Ozzy. R.I.P. Yes, Brian. Jack's 5. What's your theory concerning why RFK Jr. has not stopped pharma dollars to media companies? If I had a theory to wage about that, I would say that right now President Trump is using the lawsuits and giving them the opportunity to get their houses in order. Because at that point, if the media isn't the insane media they are now, then there's no reason to unless he wants to do it in terms of cutting their money. See, what'll happen though, if they get rid of those flamethrowers like they did with Joy Reid, and now they get rid of Colbert, and then if they get rid of Rachel Maddow, then they won't have the eyeballs. They don't have the eyeballs now, but they can't fake it. So I think we're still in the works on that. That's I guess my theory on it. Trump versus Obama 2025. It's on like Donkey Kong. Yeah, we're about to see like the King Kong Godzilla type thing. JJ Rasta, oh yeah, baby. Nikki P, what are you anchoring your resistance bands to at your desk? Okay, first question. I am doing it with my feet. My feet are down there, and I just go ahead and put the resistance band. I just run them under my feet, and then here, let me show you. It's one band. This is just one band here. This is a 20. Oh, I got to go to full screen. Hold on. This is a 25 pound band right here, and so I just take the band, and then what I'll do is I drop it down here, and then I step on it. And then once I step on it, then I get the resistance and able to pull it. So I am the anchor. Per your question, like what's the anchor? That would be me. I'm the anchor. I just step on it with my feet. And then when I stand up, if something's recording, I stand on it then as well. I have a card deck for wall Pilates that has some good stretches. One card is a workout. Very well. Very well. Was fishy when Obama said Trump won't be president. That was interesting. And MAGA King, thank you very much. I think that's everything. Let me just make sure I didn't forget anybody. I hate if I forget people. No, we're good. I think that's everything. All right, see you guys at 7:30. We'll talk about Ozzy. Well, it won't be not a whole lot to talk about, but we will play some Ozzy. See you guys in a little while.
Bye.